space-time transaction, exchanging food for the elf princess at the start. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276. Good guy. Is this the dark and cold beauty Feng Jian Niang? Even if you want to kill people, you still have to say yes. Su Yi looked at it and called him a good guy. His original intention was to ask Xiang Sun to show the crimes committed by the bald eagle soldiers in this base, tell everyone what they had done, and then directly explode. Unexpectedly, Xiang Sun directly found out that the female reporter's boyfriend was also in that base. Not only that, but she also found photos of the other party massacring local defenseless residents and even stepping on the corpses to take photos. The female reporter who was pointing fingers from the moral high ground just now was immediately silenced. Looking at the photo, he was stunned and his face turned pale. Her boyfriend was a murderous demon who even stepped on the bodies of children to take pictures. Her moral kidnapping words just now seemed extremely pale in front of this intuitive fact. He was killing innocent people indiscriminately. If Su Yi fired this shot, it would be an exaggeration to say that he was doing justice for heaven. After obtaining Xianshu, becoming a Brahmin on the Blue Star Network, and being able to view any secret information at will, Su Yi knew very well what these countries on the Blue Star had done. In particular, Bald Eagle's actions in the oil region were said to be anti-terrorism, but in fact they were faced with a quagmire-like security war. Even though Bald Eagle soldiers were equipped with the world's top equipment at the time, they were also beaten miserably by the local resistance forces. Public security and street fighting are not easy to fight, but the congressman want results. So what should we do? Just kill good people and take credit. There is no bottom line at all. Just go find a local village and throw a few axe at people and throw some eggshells on the ground. This is a successful anti-terrorism operation. Those who have a little bit of bottom line will go to other people's villages to bully men and women. If people really can't stand it and want to resist, then they will destroy the village. If you dare to resist the Bald Eagle heavenly soldiers, what are you, not a terrorist? There are so many things like this that the Bald Eagle troops stationed in the entire oil region, except for some military bases in peaceful countries where there is no war, will basically do it. Not to mention the military base stationed in the Kingdom of God. The internal environment of the Kingdom of God is extremely complicated. The Kingdom of God itself has local people who have been robbed of their homes by the Mintutu, not to mention soldiers stationed abroad like Bald Eagle. Occasionally, Tutu goes out to find a group of locals. They are good at selling out the top leaders of the Kingdom of China and can tell the Congress that their anti-terrorism cause has made great progress. It can be said that before he decided to raise this base to the ground in front of the whole world, he knew that there was no good person inside. Okay, the farce is over. There is only one last minute left. Su Yi stretched and looked outside. From the angle of the bridge, you can just see the main gun in front of the starship, which is the high energy ray cutting cannon. That sounds awesome from its name. Of course, the main gun is not used at all to attack a ground military base. Wherever he looked, the 3 turrets directly in front of the bridge were already rotating and aimed in the direction of Blue Star. Chiang Sun also said in time, 3 variable caliber electromagnetic guns are ready. The mass bombs have been filled and they are ready to hit the target area at any time. Su Yi nodded. Unexpectedly, at this time, another holographic projection condensed on the side, which happened to be Xianshu's virtual image. Sir, the Commander-in-Chief of the Bald Eagle Empire requests to speak to you. Su Yi raised his eyebrows when he heard this and said, aren't you too lazy to answer the phone calls over there before? Why did you come out to tell me this time? Xianshu curled his lips vividly and said disdainfully, this old man is holding a nuclear bomb launch box. He said that if we still refuse to talk, he will restart Blue Star with one click. I think this should have more program effect. You might like it, so I will tell you. In fact, whether it is Xianshu or Xiang Sun, their computing power is much higher than that of the human brain. but they usually use most of their computing power to process things most of the time. But even if there is only a small amount of computing power available, given them a certain amount of time, they will become smarter and more human-like. Chai and Shu has stayed at Blue Star long enough, and now there is a trend in this regard. If she didn't know that this was a projection, anyone who looked at her tone of voice and various macro expressions would probably just think of her as a beautiful girl with a bad personality. Then, get through and let me see what medicine he sells in his gourd. The next moment, the screen turned, and a crowded scene at the entrance of the Black Palace of the Bald Eagle Empire appeared on the projection. The person in the center of the picture happens to be the leader of the Bald Eagle Empire, the sleeping emperor, commonly known as Lao Deng Tao among Kaishu netizens. Without waiting for the other party to speak, Su Yi looked at his watch and said, "You still have less than 30 seconds to speak. Of course, if what you want to say interests me, it doesn't mean I can't give you an extra minute or two." Lao Deng was obviously stunned for a moment. He looked at himself in the live broadcast room on the mobile phone in front of him, and then looked at the camera in front of him. Only then did he realize that it was not just a phone call, but someone directly using Xianyu Group. The technology cuts through the live camera lens and directly video calls him. After reacting, he quickly said, "Mr. Su, you should also know that we, the Bald Eagle, are a nuclear power, and we are not a fool. The Bald Eagle Empire has 3 intercontinental missiles aimed at your Penglay Island, and is ready to launch. I just need to press the red button and the box, and the intercontinental missiles carrying nuclear warheads will wipe your Penglay Island off the planet. If you really insist on doing it, the consequences will definitely not be something new, and I can bear. Our Bald Eagle Empire has always stood on the position of peace, and is an important force in maintaining world stability. Your company is also the cornerstone of world stability. I think there should be some misunderstandings between us. It is better to put down our weapons temporarily, and let us go to the negotiation table, to have a good chat." Lao Deng's words were sincere and heartfelt. Not only did he show that he had the ability to self-destruct at any time, but he also earnestly asked Su Yi to return to the negotiation table and stop fighting for life and death. To be honest, it was not only him, but the entire think tank of the Bald Eagle Empire was messed up by Su Yi. Didn't he just take in some remnants of the kingdom of God and take the opportunity to throw some dirty water on Xianyu Group and Jiazhao, saying that they were conducting human experiments? The verbal battle with Jiazhao before was even more outrageous than this. It was just short of cursing, but it was nothing. This is just the beginning, and Su Yi is going to use space-based weapons to bombard them. Now the entire Bald Eagle executives are not only shocked and angry, but also want to ask Su Yi, "Brother, do you want to play or not? How the hell did they just flip the table and start firing when there was a conflict without even talking about it?" Exclamation mark. Chapter 277. Talk about the market. "Do you think I have nothing to do?" Su Yi sneered. "I thought you were in a hurry to contact me because you had some profound ideas. If that's all, then I'm dead. Don't expect to threaten me with that broken thing in your hand. I'm giving you 2 choices now. Either throw that thing in your hand aside and watch the fireworks with me, or you watch me wipe out your Bald Eagle's overseas base from this world, and then press the ridiculous button in your hand. Of course, the premise is that you can press it at this point," he said a little mysteriously. "Believe me, your nuclear weapons are as funny as your military bases." As soon as the voice fell, a touch button appeared on the wall in front of him, with 2 bright Chinese characters written on the button. "Fire." Su Yi pressed it directly. The next moment, under the gaze of a large group of reporters on the bridge and countless people on Blue Star who watched this scene through the lenses of these reporters, the muzzles of the 3 variable caliber electromagnetic cannons that had turned their angles to aim at Blue Star emitted dazzling blue light, and then they instantly returned to calm. The vacuum environment made it impossible for the people in the bridge to even hear the sound of the guns. They could only see a flash of light, and then the picture in the bridge was transformed into the perspective of the Blue Star oil region. Under the display coverage of the bridge without blind spots, everyone felt that they were in the scene, as if they had really come to the desert of the oil region. Not far away, There was a large-scale military base lying on the surface point. There was a reporter who was familiar with this military base at the scene and saw where this was at a glance and hurriedly said, "This is a target that Shianayu group is going to attack today." When everyone heard this, they immediately guessed what was going on, and all of them widened their eyes and stared at the screen intently. The next moment, without any signs, a violent explosion occurred in the military base. Almost at the same time, 3 mushroom clouds rose into the sky with flames all over the sky, and the terrifying airwaves instantly swept around, tearing the trees around the base in the first place. Even the camera couldn't help shaking. The sky was clear just a second ago, but it was filled with smoke and dust in an instant. However, this was just the beginning. Less than 2 seconds after the explosion, the camera at least 5 kilometers away from the base could clearly see the terrifying cracks spreading rapidly. The camera on the surface also flew closer and gave a close-up of the edge of the crack. Even at the edge, it was a terrifying crack that was almost bottomless, which made people tremble with fear at a glance. When the smoke and dust calmed down a little, the camera flew up to the sky again and gave a close-up of the ground. This sight immediately made everyone gasp. With the previous Bald Eagle military base as the center, the terrifying cracks spread like a spider web and covered the surface with a radius of about 7 kilometers. Looking down from the sky, it looked like a scar on the earth. The widest of these cracks is probably more than 100 meters, and the narrowest at the edge is also 1 or 2 meters wide. The depth is even more unpredictable, but it is bottomless under this level of attack. The Bald Eagle overseas military base has completely disappeared, and there is not even any wreckage left. The whole land is like a crater after being hit by a meteorite. There is no trace of human activities here. It must be a bit painful to be hit by a cannon. Faintly, people seem to hear a voice behind the camera angle. It hurts. It won't hurt if it is directly vaporized. Shh, I'm at work. Be careful not to be heard by the chairman. Don't say it. Su Yi's mouth twitched, and he waved his hand to let Xiangsuan cut off the fact broadcast of the power armored soldiers from the security department of Shianayu group on the front line. To be honest, he actually had some doubts about whether 3 electromagnetic guns could directly wipe out such a large base. After all, the electromagnetic guns also fired mass bullets. Even if these 3 variable caliber electromagnetic guns have the largest caliber and use giant shells with a caliber of more than 1 meter, the gunpowder they can carry is limited. After all, at first, he had no idea whether a 3-gun salvo could directly destroy a base until I saw the effect of the 3-gun salvo just now. Well, it can only be said that it is like a cannon hitting a mosquito. Judging from the situation on the scene, at most 1 shot is enough, and there is probably redundancy. Although in terms of personnel casualties, this power should not be as powerful as a 1,000,000-ton equivalent nuclear bomb, but the power of this thing is not reflected in large-scale personnel casualties, but in penetration. Fortunately, it was only a 3-gun salvo. If the 112 electromagnetic guns on the ship were to fire a round of salvos at one place according to this standard, I'm afraid that the continental shelf would collapse. Ahem. After adjusting his mood, Suyi asked Xiangsuan to cut the screen back to the entrance of the Black Palace. Liu Deng was completely stunned when he looked at the live broadcast on his mobile phone. Although he expected that Suyi would not be afraid of nuclear bombs at all when hiding in the sky, he would eventually open fire. But he really didn't expect that Suyi would open fire so decisively, as if he was not afraid that he would really press the button next to him and fire the Bald Eagle's nuclear bomb to the whole world. The power of those 3 shots was indeed a bit scary, and it made him dazed for a moment. Although it seems far less destructive than nuclear weapons, anyone with a discerning eye can see that this thing is probably much more powerful than nuclear weapons to a certain extent. After all, nuclear weapons are coming, and the top leaders of the big countries like Blue Star hide in nuclear bunkers. Even if the world restarts, they will not be in any trouble. At most, there will be fewer cattle and horses to use after they come out. But the electromagnetic cannon on Su Yixing ship, the nuclear bunker, doesn't look like it can defend against this thing. 3 shots have made a piece of land like this Looking at the densely packed gun muzzles on the starship, this round of volleys will not make the Earth's crust cracked, right? I'm afraid that the nuclear bunker can't hide anything, Mr. President. The assistant next to him reminded Leo Deng at the right time, which immediately brought him back to his senses. He turned to look at his assistant, who immediately said, now that things have come to this, let's follow the original plan. After a slight hesitation, Leo Deng sighed and looked up at the panicked bald eagles below the stage. Dear citizens of the Bald Eagle Empire, today, the Shia group launched a brutal attack on our overseas bases. More than 5,000 soldiers in the bases may have been killed. Our empire was once so great, and we must never allow ourselves to be bullied. Today, in the name of the President of the Bald Eagle Empire, I will launch a nuclear strike on Penglay Island, where the Shia group is located. This nuclear strike is not aimed at any country, organization or individual other than the Shia group. Please don't be nervous. As he spoke, he slowly raised his hand and placed it on the button of the nuclear weapons box point with just a light press. The 3 doomsday weapons that would destroy the world would be launched from a launch silo somewhere in the Bald Eagle Empire point. Maybe according to the original plan, they were all duds, and they all fell down in midair, and he, the president, was ruined. Point it is also possible that some links in the middle went wrong, and many people did not act according to the original plan. All 3 intercontinental missiles carrying nuclear weapons were good. Then either the Shia group was attacked to achieve the goal, or the nuclear armed countries in the world were affected, resulting in the mutual loss of nuclear weapons, which completely opened Pandora's box. Chapter 278. At this moment, Leo Deng Tao had many things on his mind. There is a review of his life, and there is speculation about the impact that pressing the button will have on him personally and on the world. It's like a marquee at the end of life. Of course, although he is old, he has not really reached the end of his life yet because he drank a lot of smuggled water of life. But he knows very well that if this button is pressed, his political career will be over, no matter what. The difference is whether the launch is successful or the launch fails. The launch failed according to the original plan. He is the biggest clown in the world. I'm afraid that until the human race is extinct, the history of the world will never forget that there was a clown like him in this world. In front of the whole world, he vowed to use the ultimate weapon to take revenge. The opponent's weapon turned out to be misfired. If the launch is successful, it will most likely cause the world to restart. Even if he really followed his harsh words and did not arouse the sensitive nerves of other nuclear armed countries in this regard, everyone would agree that he bombed Penglay Island, and he also successfully razed Shia group's Penglay Island to the ground. It's essentially meaningless Penglay Island. If Suyi is gone, we will have to build another one. Although everyone still doesn't know what method Suyi used to create such a large island almost overnight. But that doesn't stop him from rebuilding at this speed again. Apart from the death of some people, there was almost no threat to Suyi. And what the Bald Eagle Empire will face next is probably crazy revenge from Suyi Shia group. Can you win? I'm afraid not. As for the price of losing, he hasn't figured it out yet, but he is sure there is one. That is the dog head of his Bald Eagle commander who launches nuclear weapons once pressed. He will not end well, no matter what. But he had to press. Taking a deep breath, Leo Deng closed his eyes and slowly raised his hand under the spotlight. Trust me, you don't want to press that thing. A soft female voice came from outside the Black Palace. The voice seemed to have a magical power. Although it was not loud, it overwhelmed the noise of the scene and everyone could hear it clearly. Leo Deng was stunned for a moment and looked up in confusion. Following the sound along with him were many reporters, Black Palace staff, Secret Service agents, etc. who were present. Under everyone's gaze, a purple-haired woman wearing a star robe and holding a gorgeous wand slowly walked into the Black Palace. Why did she go there? Yi, who was eating melon after setting off the cannons, couldn't help but be stunned when he saw the person coming. Because the person who appeared at the entrance of the Black Palace was none other than Xinghan, who had gone somewhere to play somewhere today. According to the data we just retrieved, Miss Xinghan was participating in a game event in a shopping mall on Penglay Island. However, due to the tense situation, tit-for-tat confrontation with a bald eagle inevitably caused confusion on the island and disturbed Miss Xinghan. After hearing that bald eagle was preparing to launch nuclear weapons at Penglay Island, she rushed to the bald eagle empire at an unimaginable speed, so I didn't have time to report to you. Xianshu explained in the headset. Suyi raised his eyebrows, turned to Yuling, and asked in a voice that only the two of them could hear, speaking of which, what kind of demigod is Xinghan? Looking at her holding a staff, could it be that she plays magic? However, Yuling's answer was somewhat beyond his expectation. No, she is a martial arts demigod. This involves the difference between demigods and real gods. It's quite complicated. In the magical world, except for families or forces that have actually had demigods or gods, others basically don't know about it. To put it simply, if you want to become a demigod, the prerequisite is to practice both magic and martial arts, and you must reach the 9th level in both paths. Whether it is magic or martial arts, in essence, these two paths lead to the same goal. The 9th level has basically come to an end, and at this time it is necessary to carry out a certain degree of integration and use one path to confirm the other. You can use magic to prove martial arts, and you can also use martial arts to prove magic. As long as you truly understand it, and push one of the ways to above the 9th level, you will be considered a demigod. It's just that demigods also have levels. A demigod with a single martial arts that exceeds the 9th level, or a single magic that exceeds the 9th level, has just entered the threshold of a demigod. When will all magic and martial arts be pushed to the demigod level? That is the true pinnacle of demigods, an unrivaled existence in the magical world, and wanting to become a god is even more complicated. According to the predictions of ancient sages, it is necessary to completely integrate the martial arts or magic strength that has reached the level of a demigod, and find a new path that is completely different from the existing martial arts and magic. But just as far as I know, no one has done this in the hundreds of thousands of years of history of the magical world. This is what my ancestor elf god said personally, and recorded in the secret history of our moon elf royal family. According to the elf god, these existing gods in the magic world chose to find another way when they could not combine the two paths. In fact, to put it bluntly, it is the way to break through to the demigod at the 9th level, and practice one of the ways to the break through the current bottleneck, and reach another unknown realm. After reaching that realm, speaking of this, even Yuling, who was usually gentle, couldn't help but breathe a little heavier. They will gain immortality, true immortality, infinite lifespan. Of course, it is hard to say whether it is infinite lifespan or not. Anyway, in the history of the magic world for hundreds of thousands of years, it has never been heard that gods have fallen due to insufficient lifespan. Therefore, even if it is not immortality, it should be no problem to live for at least 1,000,000 years. After breaking through in this way, some gods also try to continue to learn demigods and push another path to this level so that they can become peak gods and walk on two legs like before, so that they can reach a stronger level than gods in the future. But all gods have found after trying that this does not work at all. If you choose martial arts to become a god, then the subsequent there is no possibility of practicing magic anymore, and choosing magic to become a god, it is also difficult to make progress in martial arts. After discovering this, in order to gain more power, many gods simply gave up the practice of another path, and specialized in one. Therefore, demigods are usually not divided into martial arts demigods and magic demigods, but gods are usually divided into martial arts gods and magic gods. Xinghan's situation is that she is now a martial arts demigod, and is also a 9th level great magician. She should not be far away from breaking through the magic path to become a true peak demigod. She is countless times stronger than an ordinary 9th level magician. It is no exaggeration to say that she is a walking nuclear bomb. Chapter 279. Who are you? At the gate of the Black Palace, a large group of people looked at the mysterious woman who appeared out of nowhere and did not dare to move for a while. Even the elite agents of the Secret Service did not dare to make any extra movements at this time, and only dared to ask a question from a distance with a trembling voice. Although Xinghan only said one sentence from beginning to end, and did not even move much, for some reason. Everyone present had a fear from the depths of their souls. When they saw her, it seemed that the person who suddenly appeared at the gate of the Black Palace was not a beautiful woman, but a prehistoric beast that chose people to eat. You are Suyi's lover. The assistant next to the old Deng seemed to remember something and shouted subconsciously, point, the commander-in-chief is an old Deng who is old and blurry every day. He takes care of many things in the White Eagle Empire, point, for the great enemy Xianyu group. He naturally knows very well, point, he even knows who is around Suyi, point. Xinghan has been with Suyi for a long time. Although the two rarely appear in public together, it is not rare, point. Besides, Xinghan lives on the rooftop of the Xianyu group headquarters building. She uses the elevator that goes directly to the rooftop, which is nominally only used by Suyi and Juling. She is seen by the headquarters staff more or less when she goes in and out, point. The relationship between Suyi and Juling is no longer a secret. There is even a big man who claims to be an insider of the Jia's House of Affairs Bureau who has exposed their marriage certificate, point. People are gossipy. In this case, it is difficult for such a beautiful woman to not attract the attention of internal employees when she goes in and out of the boss and the boss's wife every day, point. In this internet age, such explosive topics are naturally not limited to the circle of employees. Anyway, the company has no confidentiality regulations in this regard, so it is not surprising that it is spread on the internet, point. With the information collection ability of the bald eagle, it is natural that it will not fail to collect even this little information. So, Yi's lover, Xinghan, used the world language access card so he could naturally understand their bird language, point. This guy suddenly said this, and Xinghan was stunned for a moment. Has the outside world spread the news of my relationship with that kid so outrageously? After all, she spent most of her time playing on Penglai Island, where most of the people were employees of Xianyu Group. So naturally they didn't dare to say such things to her. She really didn't know, point. But it doesn't matter. It's just a small matter anyway, point. Throwing away the distracting thoughts in her mind, she turned to look at the silent crowd and said, I live on Penglai Island, and I have some friends there. I'm afraid you can't blow it up. Although Suyi is a reliable kid, I'm still a little worried, so I came here. I haven't killed for a long time, and I don't want to kill anyone this time. It just so happens that you haven't pressed the button yet, so I'll give you a chance. 10 days. Well, I heard that you are very slow, and this time may be a bit difficult for you, so let's take a month. Within a month, destroy or hand over all the nuclear weapons in your hands, and this matter will be over. Of course, I'm afraid you won't listen to me just like that, so in order to make you do this seriously according to my wishes, it should be necessary to show you something. As soon as the voice fell, Xinghan slowly raised the magic wand in his hand and then dropped it heavily, point. Boom. With her as the center, all the exquisite floor tiles around her shattered, point. The next moment, a breeze blew by, lifting a few strands of purple hair at her temples. Xinghan didn't say anything more, but slowly disappeared from the spot, point. It wasn't until she completely disappeared here that the people around her woke up as if from a dream and seemed to have regained control of their bodies, and the scene became noisy again. Who is she? I don't know. I heard that she seems to be from the Xianyu group. Why did such a big person disappear out of thin air? And she is a member of the Xianyu group, and she was not invited to negotiate. Why can she walk into the Black Palace so swaggeringly? What are these trash from the Secret Service doing? What did this woman say just now? Let us destroy or hand over all nuclear weapons within a month. What a joke. Haha. Why don't you say this to her face? I don't know why. After seeing her, I suddenly felt a palpitation, and my hands are still shaking until now, and I can't speak at all. Sure enough, the rumors are true. Xianyu, there really is a superpower in the group. The woman just now is definitely one of them, disappearing out of thin air. This is too weird. Superpower? What superpower? Don't scare yourself. There are so many magic tricks like this. I know several magician friends who can do it. Idiot. Magic is fake. It needs to be arranged in advance. This is the Black Palace. You say that someone from the Xianyu group is so bold to run to the Black Palace to arrange a magic venue in advance and then run out at this tense time to say a bunch of harsh words and then perform magic and leave. then I might as well believe that he really knows magic, superpowers, and magic. Except for the resurrection, I don't see anything special about it, and how could they not have arranged it in advance? Such a big man could walk directly into the Black Palace in broad daylight. I can only say that the security level of this place is worrying. With the technology of Shia Group, maybe they have used some black technology to arrange a magic venue in advance to scare us. Before the woman disappeared, she hit the ground and then disappeared. This is exactly the same as the magicians who use other actions to attract attention before performing magic. What kind of magician can easily hit the ground half a meter deep? Then, the underground must have been hollowed out a long time ago. I said, with the security level of the Black Palace, it's not surprising that anything happened. Stop arguing. Didn't anyone notice that the wind suddenly started? This place is not far from the sea. Isn't it normal to have wind? It seems to be windy, and why do I feel that the wind is getting stronger and stronger? There seems to be a large cloud on the coast. Is there a storm coming? The weather forecast didn't say. Emergency news. Emergency news. The Bald Eagle Empire Meteorological Bureau just notified our news headquarters and asked us to issue a national notice. Just 1 minute ago, a huge hurricane suddenly appeared on the sea less than 100 kilometers away from here in a completely unreasonable and meteorological way. It is getting stronger at an extremely terrifying speed. While getting stronger, it also uses a very strange route, almost straight towards the Huadu Special Zone, where the Black Palace is located. It is expected to land in an hour at the latest. No, according to the latest news, this time has been brought forward to within half an hour. The Meteorological Bureau initially judged that this is a Category 4 hurricane. No, the Meteorological Bureau has updated the news again. In 10 minutes, at most 10 minutes, the hurricane will land, and its intensity has reached the level of a Category 5 hurricane, and it is still increasing. Category 6. Category 6 hurricane, an unprecedented terrifying storm. No, there is really a magician in Shia Group. Warm tips. The website is about to be revised, which may cause the loss of reading progress. Please save the bookshelf and reading records in time. Screenshots are recommended. We apologize for the inconvenience caused to you. Chapter 280. Hurricane Milton, which destroyed a state of the Bald Eagle Empire not long ago, and forced the empire to carry out illegal rescue, was only a Category 5 hurricane. Even so, it has been called the storm of the century by the Bald Eagle. As for the Category 6 hurricane, there was no corresponding standard before. Of course, it is now available. When a storm cannot be measured by the current standard. The new standard will be updated in real time. And now, this Bald Eagle Empire may even be the first Category 6 hurricane in human history. It will land in the power center of this empire in 10 minutes at most. Xinghan, who caused all this, just likely informed the high-level officials of the Bald Eagle Empire what they needed to do after appearing. There was no intention of discussion or questioning. After speaking, he left directly. Only a group of Bald Eagle high-level officials were left in the wind. Of course, there were also the surrounding residents who began to flee frantically after receiving the emergency warning. Even the reporters who came to the door of the Black Palace and the Secret Service agents stationed at the White House were a little bit nervous at this time. They looked at the increasingly dense and heavy black clouds in the direction of the coast with worry. Some reporters even asked the photographers to carry the camera and run away quickly. Just kidding. Who knows how destructive a Category 6 hurricane will be? Although explosive news is good, life is more important. Moreover, since the emergence of the Shia Group, there seems to be no shortage of explosive news in this world. The fact that the Bald Eagle commander was interrupted a second before pressing the nuclear weapon launch button seems to be just that, and it is a bit unworthy to sacrifice his life. Looking at the chaotic Black Palace in front of him, Liu Deng, who had not said a word since Xinghan appeared, seemed to have come back to his senses. He calmly pulled his hand back from the nuclear weapon launch box and looked at the assistant behind him. Shouldn't this be pressed? The assistant stared at the box for a moment, suddenly stepped in front of Liu Deng and pressed the case that represented the one-click restart of Blue Star directly. Then, can't touch it. Sure enough, The assistant seemed to have expected it and looked at Leo Deng with a wry smile. Whether it is necessary or not, we can't press it anymore. Of course, if you really want to launch this thing, you can also sign a presidential order and have someone send it to the nuclear missile launch base, but I guess you probably don't want to do that. Leo Deng narrowed his eyes and looked at the assistant in front of him, who seemed to have no respect for him as the commander-in-chief, and snorted coldly, "The storm is coming. Open the underground shelter of the Black Palace." Because he was too old, and it was difficult for him to be re-elected. He had long been abandoned by his faction point. Although he was nominally sitting in the position of the commander-in-chief, as long as this period of time was over, his position would be immediately replaced. As for whether the person who replaced him was someone from his current faction, it was hard to say. However, when people leave, the tea gets cold, and when the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. This is a universal truth in any country. He has lost power, and the assistant in front of him is still young and strong. When he was still in power, this assistant was disrespectful from time to time, let alone now. Of course, no matter how dissatisfied he is, he can't say much now. Just like being dragged here to do something that will inevitably be infamous for thousands of years, he can only do it facing the disrespect and provocation of the assistant. He can only endure it. Of course, in such a big storm, staying in the Black Palace may not guarantee your safety. It's too late to take your commander-in-chief's special plane now. The underground shelter in the Black Palace is obviously the best choice, the assistant said indifferently. Although the storm is big, for an imperial high-ranking like him, just go to the underground shelter anyway. It's just a storm, not an earthquake. What are you going to do? Leo Deng asked, while moving to the shelter. What do you mean? What? That woman just said. The most afraid of the air suddenly being quiet. The assistant was directly asked by this question. What to do? What can he do? Didn't you see that the button of this nuclear weapon box can't be pressed? If they just move, a category 6 hurricane will blow over, and the whole city will be destroyed in a minute. You want to fight with your head? Surrender. Just agree to whatever they say. Isn't it over? However, although this is a truth, as a senior official of the Bald Eagle, he certainly can't say a word. This kind of surrender is the one who speaks and takes the blame. Therefore, facing the questioning of the commander-in-chief in front of him, the assistant just looked at his nose and pretended not to hear it. Although Leo Deng has not retired yet as the commander-in-chief, he is fully capable of letting his assistant pack up and leave, but the worst case is that he will be unemployed at home for a few months and wait for the next commander-in-chief to come up. Compared with proposing a big pot like surrender, let alone offending the commander-in-chief who is about to step down, and being unemployed for a period of time, it is impossible to say this, even if he quits his job directly. No matter how you look at it, Leo Deng, who has lost power within the faction and will soon be forced out of the Black Palace and will most likely not live for a few more years, is the most suitable candidate to take the blame. And he is now the commander-in-chief anyway, and it is completely legal for him to decide on such a major matter. Leo Deng obviously knew his fate. After asking, he saw that the assistant did not speak, so he sneered. While the Black Palace's high-level officials were scheming against each other, the entire Bald Eagle Empire's power center, Huadu Special District, was already shrouded in a storm. The terrifying gale that was difficult to rate hit the densely populated city like a physical object. Because the hurricane appeared too suddenly, the people here had less than 10 minutes to react and escape. Naturally, the streets were not completely evacuated at this time, and it was not an exaggeration to say that it was a mess in the chaos. Some people fled in panic and went to the shops on both sides of the road to try to avoid the strong wind. Some people were still sitting in the car because of the traffic jam, and they cursed at the long queue in front of them. There were also people who were still watching the excitement when the disaster was about to happen, standing on the side of the road with their mobile phones to shoot the chaos on the street, while filming with passionate commentary, and even standing in front of the camera to make funny faces. More people have already hidden in the shops on both sides of the road, and some people have not even come down from the high-rise buildings, and they don't care about the strong wind that is about to sweep over. After all, it is not news that a hurricane hits here. Although the Weather Bureau of the Bald Eagle Empire said that this hurricane is unprecedented, many people still do not take it seriously, thinking that no matter what the wind is, it will be fine if they hide in the building point until a strong wind swept by, and dozens of people who were just in the wind were swept from the ground to the sky, and then fell down and turned into a pool of meat. Chapter 281. Dark clouds were rolling over the city, and strong winds were rolling over the ground point under the horrific storm. Many buildings that were designed with huge safety redundancies and had stood for decades without falling down in the face of countless storms looked so small and helpless as the real storm landed in the city, the capital of Washington. The Bald Eagle Empire, once the center of power in the entire world, was in turmoil in every sense of the word. Point high in the sky, everyone on the Kunpeng starship couldn't help but take a breath as they looked at the real-time scene from the reporter, who was not afraid of death. Only Suyi looked at this scene thoughtfully. Such a terrifying hurricane can be triggered easily. If it crashes into a densely populated city, it may easily cause tens of thousands, or even tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of casualties. Is it awesome? That must be powerful. It is no different from a natural disaster. But speaking of lethality, it may not be as good as a nuclear weapon with a yield of 1 million tons in such a densely populated city. If a nuclear weapon with an equivalent of 1 million tons hits it, the casualties caused will definitely be in the millions, and it cannot be a small casualty like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. But does this mean they are weak? Actually it's not. In fact, professional researchers have actually compared nuclear weapons and hurricanes. Someone once calculated and said the heat released by a mature typhoon is equivalent to detonating a multi-gigaton nuclear bomb every 20 minutes. The heat released by the typhoon every hour is equivalent to the energy of more than 2,600 atomic bombs that were detonated in Taotonji. Compared with the energy of a typhoon, nuclear weapons are much weaker. Even dropping nuclear bombs into the eye of a typhoon will not help. A hurricane of this level that Xinghan created at random might be much stronger than all the nuclear weapons and the entire Blue Star combined. The reason why the casualties caused are far less than that of a nuclear weapon is also very simple, because the way of energy release is different. This is also the essential difference between nuclear weapons like Blue Star and the demigods and gods in the magical world. The purpose of Blue Star's weapons is to kill enemies, but those magics in the magical world have to consider more than just killing enemies. It involves how to make life evolve, or to put it more bluntly, the ultimate goal of this cultivation system is actually to make people live longer. That is, immortality. Killing enemies is just an ability that comes with the evolution of life during the cultivation process. Unlike Blue Star, there is no need to consider the evolution of life. If you put killing the enemy first, you will naturally be able to create weapons that are far less powerful but much more lethal. It seems that our friends in the Bald Eagle Empire are going to be in a little trouble. I hope this little wind can wake them up and stop having such sweet dreams. So Yi shrugged and turned to the reporters who were stunned. Everyone, the Shianayu group's disciplinary strike against the Bald Eagle has ended, and now it's your time. Well, I'll give you 1 day. During this time, you can move around freely in the Kunpeng starship, but it should be noted that, because this ship has just launched, the internal supporting facilities and some living modules have not yet been installed, so it may be difficult for you to eat and sleep well here. In terms of food and drink, the people from the Shianayu group will provide the standard battlefield nutritious meals for the soldiers of the security department and the canteen inside the ship. For sleeping, there are some in the dormitory area, but there are definitely no beddings or anything like that. Fortunately, this time only lasts for 1 day, and it will pass if you endure it. Of course, if someone can't stand it, you can raise it. I will send a few landing craft back to Blue Star later to pick up some Shianayu group employees and a batch of supplies and equipment to carry out some inspections inside the ship. The facilities will be improved. Those who can't stand the current harsh environment can return to Blue Star with the landing craft and take a flight home. After arriving at Penglay Island, originally, he wanted to send all these people away after setting off the fireworks. But then I thought about it. People are already here, and they are not afraid of leaking secrets anyway, so why not let these people stay here for a while? This starship is a very new model in Bailu, and many of the designs inside are very novel and user-friendly. Among other things, if these reporters can take pictures of these small designs and spread them on the internet so that Blue Star people can learn from them, it will bring a lot of convenience. Suyi was too lazy to send someone to do this kind of thing, but there happened to be someone here, so it would be good to let others pass on these small designs that can benefit the general public to Blue Star. The reporters who originally thought that Suyi was going to be expelled were so excited that they all jumped up when they heard that he could stay on the starship for one more day and shoot around. As for the imperfect living area, does this matter? Not to mention providing food and a place to stay. It only lasts about a day. Even if they don't eat, drink or sleep, they are still willing, even if they stay for 2 or 3 days. As long as they have water to drink and don't die of thirst, they are absolutely unwilling to leave. Not to mention these reporters, even the audience watching the live broadcast felt sour after hearing that they could stay on a starship for a day. What is this? Starship day trip? I don't recommend that Mr. Su do this, because I have never been on a starship. I'm really upset. Please ask Director Su to let the landing craft take me with it when it comes down to pick up people and supplies. As long as you come up and take a look, I can do whatever you want. To be honest, I majored in ship design, and I really want to go up and take a look. The key is that these reporters are not professional. They don't take pictures of the key places, but only take pictures of those places that look gorgeous, but not very practical. Please, let me go up and take a look. When I was a kid, I didn't dare to do this in my dreams. I didn't expect that one day such a thing would really happen, and it happened under my nose. It's too outrageous. Landing craft plus starship. This is simply a perfect combination. Going to space is faster than me getting home from get off work. It's too outrageous. The technology of Shia Group has been fully developed to a level that we can't understand, but I still want to go up and take a look. Please give me a chance, Mr. Su. Many viewers in the live broadcast room were swiping the bullet screen and begging to go up and take a look. Seeing this, Suyi thought for a while and said to a bunch of cameras, since everyone wants to come up and see it, I can't be too stingy. So, you go to the official website of Shia Group. I will have someone make a registration entrance, fill in your name and address, and you can sign up for the lottery. There are a total of 500 qualifications to visit the Kunpeng starship. After you draw, just wait at home. The landing craft will pick you up within an hour. Chapter 282. The water friends who originally watched the live broadcast were just chatting a few words every day, but they never expected that after the chatting was over, they would actually have the opportunity to board the starship. Suddenly everyone became excited. Thank you, Mr. Su. I will sign up right now. Holy shit. A registration page for starship tours has appeared on the Shia Group's official website. This is really awesome, and it's so fast. Isn't this normal? Shia Group's various hardware technologies are awesome, and its software is the only one in Blue Star that is so awesome. It's no secret who on the internet can play with them. Just look at that artificial intelligence ship girl. She looks like a real person. Wait a minute. Registration will close in 10 minutes, and people will be picked up within an hour. But I work in the company. What should I do if I get drawn? Wake up, buddy. It's only been 3 minutes, and the number of people who have signed up has exceeded 30 million. Just have fun with the lottery or something. If you can win this lottery, you will probably have to use up all your luck in this life. I haven't won the lottery yet, but I'm thinking about not having time to go. I said yes. It's nothing like working in the company, and I'm still on the plane. If you really win the lottery, I will ask the captain to open the cabin door and I will jump out. Hahaha. Indeed, if you can be selected, you will be in a bad class. You will directly fire the idiot boss and come back to hold a live broadcast to tell everyone what you saw on the starship. It will definitely make money. My equipment is ready, including several professional cameras, and I also brought some food and drink. Once you win, you can leave at any time. So did you win? Isn't this the lottery draw yet? Already open. Everyone who was selected has received a text message from Shia Group. Damn, congratulations to these 500 pussy. What kind of bad luck is this? You can win a prize by drawing 500 out of tens of millions. Hit. I hit. Hahaha, I won. Crazy. Take it away. Take it away. I will inherit the quota. Suyi's casual word set off a carnival on the internet point. Although after seeing the terrifying number of applicants, many people had no hope at all and did not think they could be drawn. But after seeing the lucky ones who won the lottery, they would still be envious. There was a lot of commotion on the internet for a while, and the discussion was even much hotter than Suyi's bombing of the bald eagle's base point. After all, bombing other people's bases actually has little to do with ordinary people. At least it does not affect ordinary people's daily lives. But things like God do require personal participation. You are still so generous. If you tell others to visit, you will visit. Old Man Len said with emotion. Anyway, basically no one can understand these things. It's just a visit. It's not a big problem. Suyi shrugged. You probably didn't have any plans to stay in space for a day before, right? Why did you suddenly do this? Because I suddenly remembered that there are some very interesting things on this starship. While the two were talking, they had arrived at the 6th large cabin on the Kunpeng. Besides the 5 that housed landing craft and fighter planes, the door of this cabin is also open. But unlike the 5 docks for storing aircraft and other cabins, where various supplies are stacked, the things here are very special. X9. Alien Surface Expansion Survival Module. A survival support equipment for an uninhabitable planet that integrates a large number of special equipment. It is now in a silent state. It is a square box with a height of 30 meters, a length of 80 meters, and a width of 50 meters. The characteristic is that it is very easy to use. For example, if we want to build a base on the moon now, we can just fly over the corresponding area and drop this thing. After landing, the shipboard AI can take over the center of the module processor, allowing the module to be rolled out entirely. With that said, Suyi walked up to a giant square box and patted it. This is it. This is its silent state. After it is completely rolled out, it will become a roughly rectangular closed building with a height of 110 meters, a length of 22-30 meters, and a width of 560 meters. There is a self-circulation system inside. Without any external supplies, its own energy and materials are enough for 1,000 people to survive for more than 5 years. After deployment, the central processor will adjust the internal environment in real time to ensure the temperature and humidity. The oxygen content is maintained in the most comfortable range for the human body. In addition to the self-circulation system, it also has a dormitory area with a standard of 1,500 people, ensuring that everyone can live in a personal dormitory of no less than 30 square meters. It has its own living and entertainment areas, hospitals, and even schools, ensuring that those who live there can live stably in the long term. Of course, the main task of this module is to allow people to mine and do scientific research on uninhabitable planets in the short term. Most of the internal space is naturally given to mining and scientific research modules, including hundreds of various laboratories alone. The area where various mining equipment is parked is much larger than the entire living area. The entire module is powered by 5 medium-sized third-generation cold fusion reactors. It has its own fuel rod manufacturing equipment, and the most critical material for manufacturing fuel rods is helium-3. Having said this, Suyi shrugged, and Old Man Lin immediately understood what he meant. Although the nuclear fusion experimental reactor built by Xianyu Group and Jiazhou has not been completely completed and put into use, he knows very well that Xianyu Group has already had this technology and has even used it in many equipment including the 2 landing craft that were flying all over the sky before. They were all powered by nuclear fusion but nuclear fusion cannot obtain energy out of thin air. Xianyu Group uses nuclear fusion reactors extensively, so there must be an energy source. The large-scale nuclear fusion experimental reactor in Kyushu that has not yet been built is designed to use tritium-deuterium fusion, but the nuclear fusion reactors used by Xianyu Group are obviously more advanced and use helium-3 as fuel to perform fusion reactions. And where is the most helium-3? Around Blue Star. Of course it's on the moon, so why are you telling me this? Old Man Lin asked, a little confused. Point, damn it, Jia's how doesn't even understand the tritium deuterium fusion reactor at the moment. He can't do it, even if you tell him. Point, is it possible that Suyi is planning to sell these 4 sets of modules to Jiao? Then he was quite happy, but he was afraid that Suyi himself would not be happy. After all, there were only 4 sets here. It's very simple. I don't have many professionals here in terms of mining. I'll ask Jiao how to borrow a group of people. Suyi shrugged. Our AI has calculated that with the mining equipment here, it will only require a mining team of at most 500 people to meet the planned demand for helium-3 fuel from the Xianyu group. This module is designed to meet the needs of 1,000 people. 500 people live there for a long time, but it's a lot of waste. I'll build the module, you help me mine, and then I can give 300 places to Kaishu in the extra slots, and leave a spot for your landing craft on the module's apron, and you can send people up to do some scientific research. Everything is a small problem. Old Man Lin's eyes suddenly widened. Is it true? Chapter 283. In fact, after trading 2 landing craft with Suyi, the starry sky is obviously no longer so unattainable for Kaishu. Point, at least compared to previous expensive launch vehicles. A landing craft using a nuclear fusion reactor can not only deliver 500 tons of supplies at a time, but can also carry 500 people with almost no cost at all. Point, when the fuel runs out, go to Suyi to buy a few fuel rods for the reactor, which will be enough for the last 10 or 8 years. Maybe going to space casually is completely different from having a team of hundreds of people permanently stationed in space. Point, apart from anything else, just doing some scientific research. The natural vacuum environment above will definitely make Kaishu's science and technology make rapid progress. The price is just to send someone to help Su Yi manage the equipment above and mine a mine. Point, this is so simple. Point, Old Man Lin didn't even know why he refused. Point, the two briefly communicated and quickly reached an agreement. Point, at this time, as long as the top management reaches an agreement, someone will naturally improve the specific details. As long as Old Man Lin makes a call to Jiao, a dedicated team will immediately be responsible for coordinating the matter. But Su Yi's side was even simpler. He could just ask Xianshu to do what could only be done by dozens or even hundreds of people. Point, of course there is no need to say more about such a trivial matter as a dock door of the starship slowly opened. Point, the 12 landing craft docked inside were released one after another. These landing craft are much more advanced than the previous ephemera and can naturally be controlled by the shipboard AI Xiangsun. After all, the professions are different. When it comes to playing this kind of thing, Xiangsun is much easier to play than the commercial AI Xianshu. Point, of course, in addition to AI control, these landing craft, including transport ships, can actually be operated manually. Point, it's just that Su Yi is too lazy to train people to operate it. Point, it's different in Kaishu. Although Old Man Lin hasn't returned yet, the 2 Mayfly class landing craft have been sent to Kaishu. Point, just now, Jiao made a special call to Old Man Lin, saying that this thing couldn't be operated, and asked Old Man Lin to ask Su Yi if he could hire a coach or something to teach him, and the salary would be whatever he wanted. Point, if it doesn't work, just give them an instruction manual and they can figure it out on their own. Point, there were only 2 AIs in the entire Xianyu group who knew how to play this thing. Su Yi naturally had no place to find a coach for them, so he had to ask Xianshu to temporarily compile an operation manual and send it to Jiao. Point, I heard that those 2 ships have been surrounded by countless experts and scholars from Kaishu, and they are thinking about it at the moment. Point, one of the 2 ships was given to the Kaishu military for military transportation purposes, which of course included taking people or supplies into space, or simply imitating Su Yi and driving this thing above other people's heads to scare people. Point, the other ship was given to a research institute in Kaishu, mainly used as scientific research equipment. Point, in addition to its unimaginable scientific research value, it is also very useful to use it as a laboratory and send it to space. Point, but it was not all directly allocated to the army as many netizens had speculated. After staying in space for about 2 hours, all the landing craft that were sent out to pick up people and supplies finally came back. Point, those who followed him to the starship were, of course, Xinghan. Point, this woman has changed out of her gorgeous and sparkling star robe and is now wearing an ordinary summer dress, a white t-shirt, shorts, and long white legs. Very casual point compared with other people who came to visit the starship with a pilgrim mentality. He was somewhat out of place point. As soon as she saw Su-Yi and Juling, she complained, "You two came out to play without me." Su-Yi's mouth twitched. He didn't know why a demigod liked to play so much. He could only say, "I came here on a whim. I didn't call you, since you were not here. This is not important. Speaking of which, how many times can you unleash the hurricane you just unleashed?" Ling only knew some of the standards for classifying levels in the magical world, and definitely didn't know much about Xinghan's strength. Su-Yi was curious, and could only ask Xinghan himself directly. "It's no problem 8 times out of 10, right? What's wrong?" Xinghan walked to a porthole, and looked at the blue planet outside the window, feeling a little lost for a moment. "It's so beautiful." 8 times out of 10 is awesome point. If hurricanes of that magnitude were unleashed on a city 10 times in a row, the entire city would be razed to the ground. Su-Yi gave a thumbs up in affirmation, and then looked out the window with her, saying with some surprise, "From a physical perspective, these weapons of our blue star can be used in your world. The physical rules of the two worlds should be the same. Even if they are different, they are almost the same. Your world should be such a planet, right? At most, it's just bigger than Blue Star. It seems to me that you have never seen a planet in outer space. Could it be that the resting gods and demigods in your world have never left the atmosphere?" Xinghan has been in this world for so long that he naturally knows what proper nouns like atmosphere mean. Hearing this, he shook his head and said, "No, in the magical world, this kind of place is called the restricted area of life. It is said that in ancient times, gods once arrived in the sky and died soon after. The gods can't physically travel across the universe." Su-Yi was a little surprised. "No, things are more complicated than you think," Xinghan said lightly. "Because of those ancient legends, I never thought of going up to the sky after becoming a demigod. It was not until I came to Blue Star that I realized that ordinary people here could use those equipment to reach the sky, where even gods cannot survive and even escape unscathed. Later, I took some time to fly up to take a look. I didn't fly too high, probably just past the stratosphere, and then came down. It turns out that I didn't have any injuries, and the environment in space can't do anything to me. Do you know what this means?" "What?" "It means that there is a big secret hidden in the starry sky of the magic world. Either the so-called gods falling in the sky is false, and someone has woven such a lie to deceive everyone for hundreds of thousands of years. I don't know what the purpose is behind it, or the rumor is true, but the danger does not come from the harsh environment above the sky, but from something else. For example, more powerful gods deliberately block and do not allow any gods in the magic world to leave the planet." Xinghan's tone was very casual, as if this secret that could be called explosive in the magic world and make all gods look at it was nothing at all. After that, she reminded, "By the way, if you don't have the power to curb the gods in the magic world, then you'd better not rush to open the portal, or let the people of Kaishu in the past launch satellites or something. If it's just a war, you raise the whole world to the ground and slaughter all the descendants of the gods. They probably won't even turn their heads to look. But if you launch a satellite or open a cross-border portal, it will definitely attract the attention of a large number of existing gods. Don't count on me. I can't beat those old guys." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284. I think there may be something wrong with the direction of the cultivation of the gods in your world. Yi thought for a while, and finally said this: "The cultivation methods of the gods mentioned by Yuling before, and now Xinghan's question about the gods not being able to go to space in the magical world, all reveal a strange and unreasonable atmosphere." "Oh." Xinghan raised his eyebrows and looked at Su-Yi with interest. "If I remember correctly, you should have never been exposed to our cultivation method, right?" "I've been exposed to it, but I haven't practiced it. Oh, in short, you probably have the physique of a second or third level warrior now, and you still only eat and drink, and you have nothing to do with Yuling anyway, and you rely on these external forces to improve yourself. In terms of true combat power and understanding of cultivation, I'm afraid that in the magical world, you can't beat a first or second level warrior or magician, Xinghan said with a smile. You yourself are still far away from that state. Why do you think there is something wrong with the cultivation direction of those gods? It's intuitive, Su Yi said very calmly. I just felt something was wrong, that's why I said this, but my feelings are always accurate. Really? Xinghan pondered for a moment, then said, it's really accurate. There is indeed a problem with the path taken by the gods in our world, and I'm afraid the problem is very fatal. It is impossible to turn back after making a mistake. Actually, there are also many people in that world who think there is something wrong with the cultivation route of the gods. Therefore, even if many demigods can break through when their lifespan is still very rich, they will resist not breaking through, including you. Su Yi suddenly asked. Xinghan paused for a moment, put one hand on the armrest next to the porthole, and said with a smile, do you know how old I was when I broke through the 9th level of martial arts and became a demigod? Su Yi hesitated for a while and tentatively said, 100 years old. If he remembered correctly, Yuling had said before that Xinghan was actually quite old. He looked so young, mainly because he had elven blood, and was so powerful, that he was so powerful. Outsiders have no idea of her true age. She was already a demigod when she first emerged, and she is still a demigod now. The news that Yuling knew was that Xinghan had been active in the magical world at least 100 years ago. In other words, she was already a demigod 100 years ago. When Xinghan heard this, he didn't have any strange expression. He just raised a smile at the corner of his mouth and said, 16 years old. 16 years old. This time it was not Su Yi who spoke, but Yuling, who had always remained silent beside him. Her beautiful eyes widened with disbelief. It's difficult to accept, Xinghan said to her. After all, an elf of your age is just a teenage girl equivalent to a human. You can reach the 8th level of magic and martial arts at this age. I, a hybrid of elf and human, should be able to become a demigod at the age of 16. It's not that hard to accept. I suspect you are inversals, but there is no evidence, Su Yi said suspiciously. Becoming a demigod at the age of 10 is unique even among humans in the magical world, right? The youngest demigod with documented records did not break through until he was in his 70s. Yuling explained. She didn't have any hobbies when she was in the magic world. Apart from practicing, she just liked to read books. The palace of the elf kingdom happened to have a lot of books, so it was not an exaggeration to say that she was an encyclopedia of the magic world. She basically knew a little bit about everything. Becoming a demigod in his 70s? Are you talking about the goblin who broke through more than 1,000 years ago? Xinghan asked with interest. You know him? Oh, he was killed by me, probably 70 years ago. Ling was really shocked now. These demigods and gods are usually aloof from the human world. It is not an exaggeration to say that they live in two worlds with ordinary people and practitioners. What happened between them? Unless someone at the same level discovered it and spread it, there is no record to verify it. The death of a demigod. If Xinghan hadn't said it now, no one in the whole world would have known about such a big thing. That's wrong. Yuling frowned and said, there are records in the royal library of the elf kingdom. It seems that another demigod in the kingdom came back from traveling to the mainland hundreds of years ago. The goblin demigod was amazingly talented and beautiful. He broke through to the demigod queen in his 70s. Less than 300 years later, you broke through again and became a true peak demigod. You are only one step away from the gods. More than 70 years ago, you were not. Didn't I just step into the threshold of demigods? Xinghan said with a smile. This realm is too complicated. It's difficult for you to understand it without actually stepping into it. The so-called peak demigod is actually just like that. I tore his divine body into pieces in just 3 moves. It's like this sometimes. Words that sound very pretentious, when spoken by a truly awesome person, make people want to complain, but they are speechless. Yuling was immediately silenced by her words. Suyi, who didn't quite understand this, said curiously, "So you are stronger than those peak demigods?" Xinghan tilted his head and thought for a moment. I saw this sentence when I was browsing short videos a few days ago, and it was quite touching. What? Below the gods, I'm invincible. Above the gods, I'm invincible. After saying that, Xinghan couldn't help but laugh. Indeed, it's very touching. Suyi twitched the corner of his mouth and continued, "Not long after you became a demigod, you had the confidence to be one with a true god. Then if you become a peak demigod, wouldn't it be the same as killing those gods? Becoming a demigod at the age of 16, such a reversal with Cheyenne's talent, it shouldn't be a problem to improve again, right? That's not the case. With my current situation, it's just a matter of moments thought to break through and become a peak demigod. But even so, it won't essentially improve my combat effectiveness much." Hen shook his head and said, "The things here are very complicated and difficult to explain to you. Basically, it's the same as what you just said. I have the same point of view as you. I think these demigods have taken the wrong path, so I don't want to repeat the so-called long steps of ascending to the gods that can see the end at a glance and break through to the cultivation of demigods. His defense line is different from that of other demigods, which is why he has this kind of combat power. This path is completely different from the so-called martial arts and magic of magicians. It is very different in nature. 2 years after I became a demigod, I defeated another old demigod and obtained it from him. Then he used a method of cultivation, which was probably Sengong recultivation, and lost his original strength and spent 2 years practicing again." Chapter 285. Who can cultivate to the realm of demigods or even gods, who is not an amazing person? Even people from a different world, like you, can guess things after hearing some detailed information about gods. Naturally they will not sure. So, the way I'm practicing now has actually existed for a long time, and it is not a secret among those demigods and gods. It can even be said that it is generally recognized that the combat effectiveness is extremely strong after it is completed. As for why this method of cultivation has not become popular to replace those magic and martial arts, even the vast majority of demigods and gods will not choose such a path. In fact, the reason is very simple. 1. Is that this method of cultivation has extremely high requirements on the physical body. You must at least become a demigod. Only after you have the body of a strong demigod can you try to lose your strength and rebuild it. Even if it is given to ordinary people, they will not be able to practice it, so naturally they will not popular among ordinary people. As for why those gods don't practice this seemingly better way, it's not because they don't have the guts to lose all their strength and practice again, but because practicing this will shorten your lifespan. Xinghan spoke eloquently without any intention of hiding anything. Loss of life. Suyi frowned and said, "What's the way to shorten your lifespan? It is still difficult to say how long those gods live. It should be no problem to live for 1,000,000 years. The lifespan of demigods is usually more than 10,000 years. There are clear records that the demigods with the longest lifespan can even live to 30,000 years. How long we can live after our cultivation method shortens the lifespan depends on individual circumstances. A semi-immortal species like me, who is a human and elf hybrid, can live for 300 to 500 years even without practicing. After cultivating in this way for nearly after 100 years, there will probably be 3 years left." Xinghan pondered for a moment and said unsurely, "It may be shorter, it may be longer, but the longest should not exceed 10 years. So, how old are you now?" Suyi asked in a deep voice. It's very impolite to ask a woman her age. Xinghan patted him on the shoulder, but still said, "But that's all. It doesn't matter if I tell you. I'm exactly 120 years old this year. Good guy." In other words, after becoming a demigod and then turning around to practice this thing, you not only have to lose one's strength first, but also spend countless efforts to rebuild it. He also loses a huge amount of lifespan. After cultivating to the level of Xinghan, he can't even reach the average lifespan of his race. The lifespan is only 1/4 and 1/5 of those of the same race who do not practice, or even lower. This is too exaggerated. No wonder those demigods and gods knew that, after practicing this method, they would be extremely powerful in combat, but few are as brave as her, after losing so much lifespan in one go. If she chooses to recultivate, the time she will have left to live will most likely not be as long as the time she originally spent cultivating from an ordinary person to a demigod. Except for a monster like her who became a demigod at the age of 16. How many people can have such a long life? Kind of courage. So, you really only have 3 years left to live. So, Yi still couldn't believe that this kind of walking nuclear bomb was basically untouched by the mortal world in the magical world. It was so powerful that it had a lifespan of only a little over 100 years. Perhaps even old man Lin, who has not drank the water of life, has lived as long as he did. Why did I lie to you? Xinghan said amusedly. Don't mess with those who are sad about spring and autumn. I don't like to see it. Besides, there are still 3 years left. There is still time. Maybe I will clear this road like never before. Becoming a demigod will reduce the pain. Lifespan. If you further push this path of cultivation to the same level as those of the gods, you should be able to live a few more years, right? Thinking of this woman's terrifying record of becoming a demigod at the age of 16, Su Yi felt that it was not impossible. Judging from Xinghan's words, it can be proved that there is something wrong with the cultivation methods of the gods in the magical world. If their path was really perfect, it wouldn't be the case that for hundreds of thousands of years, no one would break through to a higher realm. There will never be a training route that has combat power that far exceeds that of magic and martial arts, but has an extremely short lifespan. You are also very big-hearted. You either stay at home playing games, or go out for a walk all day long. If there is a comic exhibition, you can participate in it. If there is no comic exhibition, you have to ask Shai and Shu to help you organize one. You are almost living a two-dimensional life for yourself. It turned out that my life expectancy was only 3 years, so Yi couldn't help but complain. The relaxation is full. Every one of those seniors who have walked my path has the chance to become a god in the original cultivation system, who is not a monster with amazing talents, now let alone withered bones. They are almost fossilized. If it is useful, worry. This road has been cleared for a long time, Xinghan said nonchalantly. Why? You are asking all these questions because you want to go to the magical world and kill all the gods. Ahem. That's not the case. Damn it. You have to be able to beat it. Judging from the fighting power shown by Xinghan, she herself said that the best she could do was to trade with the gods. If it were all the spiritual gods in the entire magical world, even all the nuclear weapons of Blue Star would be unlikely to be able to defeat it. No, I think it's because you're not strong enough, Xinghan said with a faint smile, but not a smile. According to your temper, if you have the strength to deal with those gods now, I'm afraid you would have killed them all long ago, or inserted them into the trading platform, and made a contract to gain absolute control over these gods. Is my guess right? No, not really. Su Yi denied immediately. Just kidding. This is pure slander. How could he be such a narrow-minded person? People who are involved are often confused. You probably don't even realize it yourself, but we have known each other for so long. We are pretty familiar with each other. I spend most of my free time observing your world, so I can probably see it. You hate those powers that are beyond your control, but can threaten you. Even if the person who controls this power is unlikely to deal with you, you still want it to disappear, or be completely in your hands. In the words of your world, this is a very strong desire for control, or paranoia. How can you prevent others from persecuting you? Of course, you should get rid of all the forces that threaten you. In fact, it is normal to have this mentality. Whether it is Blue Star or the magic world, the superiors usually have this idea. The difference between you and them is that the politicians on Blue Star and the gods in the magic world cannot completely eliminate everything around them that can threaten them. There will be more or less some constraints, but you can do this. As a bystander, Xinghan often sees things more clearly than Suyi himself. She was too lazy to say it before, but since we are here, she just gave her opinion. It's not that I want to persuade Suyi, but I want to remind him from another perspective. And by the way, say something else. Chapter 286. This time, not only Yuling, but also Suyi was silenced by Xinghan. After a while, he said, "You are really a topic killer. You can chat to death in just a few words." Xinghan shrugged and continued, "Do you know why I'm telling you this? Because I suspect that someone like you exists in the magical world. So, ye couldn't handle this sudden turn of events. People like me. You don't mean Wee, do you? She, just a yellow-haired girl who doesn't know the heights of the world." Xinghan shook his head and said, "She is very ambitious, but she knows too little regarding the secrets hidden behind that world. Even though she is a direct descendant of the royal family of the Blazing Sun Empire, these secrets are not secrets at all to her. At her age, I'm afraid it will be difficult to browse through those ancient books." She thought that those gods and demigods would abide by the rules of the game, as long as she did not take the initiative to provoke them. For the time being, she could do whatever she wanted with her status as a descendant of the royal family of the Blazing Sun Empire. The reality is that the gods' non-participation in people's fights is not bound by any contract. For such beings, the so-called agreement is not much different from a piece of waste paper. Not participating in the fights between mortals and ordinary cultivators is purely it's because the pursuit is different, and what ordinary people fight for life and death for is nothing to mention to the superior gods and demigods. If there is not enough interest to attract them, they will naturally sit on the sidelines. Some gods may even set up a gambling bureau to have fun by using billions of living beings as bets, because gods don't care. Even the direct descendants of those gods are far less important than they think to gods with almost unlimited lifespans. They are just chess pieces that can be discarded at any time, and are not much more noble than other people, if you say so. Suyi's expression suddenly became a little strange. "The ones in your world who don't believe in bloodline theory the most are the gods. After all, according to what she said, those gods discriminate equally against all people below demigods. Isn't this a spirit of equality?" Xinghan, who had just started talking excitedly, was startled, and then he laughed and cursed. "No, can you listen carefully? Is this the point?" "I'm listening. I'm listening. Keep going. Thirsty, thirsty? Got it. You like to drink the milk tea under the headquarters building the most, right? Xianshu, find someone to drive a landing craft to buy a few cups." Suyi did not hesitate to let Xianshu do it, and then said, "The drinks will be here soon. Now tell me, under what circumstances will we end up with the gods?" "It's possible at any time." When talking about business, Xinghan looked much more cautious. She overestimates the bottom line of those gods. In fact, the so-called gods in the magic world are just powerful ordinary people, not gods. Their character may even be inferior to ordinary people. In order to defend Mengchuan City and compete for the Blazing Sun Empire, she took too many things from you. This is too abnormal. There are gods behind the Blazing Sun Empire, and there are more than one. The demigods may not be able to do anything after discovering the anomaly. No matter how you dare, once the real gods discover the abnormality in her, someone will definitely end up. Once they know that Wee has some kind of channel connecting other time and space, these gods will definitely go crazy for it. They can tolerate the destruction of the fountain of life that nourishes more than 2 billion people in the Northern Territory in the Elf Kingdom, because those things are just toys made by them. It is not a big deal if they are destroyed. On the contrary, they can still watch a show the drama of billions of people from the north moving south as a relief, but they will never give up an opportunity to explore another world. If Wee continues to send these special items from Blue Star to the magical world so unscrupulously, something will definitely happen. Although Suyi has never been to the magical world, he has really considered this issue before. Once, when the transaction volume was very large, I specifically asked Wee where she went to get so many Blue Star things. What if she was discovered by the gods over there? It was also at that time that Wu Wei told Sui about the fact that the gods in their world could not take action casually. He was doubtful at that time, but seeing Wu Wei's determined look and thinking about her ridiculously high background, he felt that there must be gods in the Blazing Sun Empire, so he didn't think too much about it. This time Xinghan solved his doubts. It even gave him a deeper understanding of the gods in the magical world. He had fallen into the misunderstanding of the Blue Star people before, thinking that Wu Wei, as a direct descendant of the royal family of the Blazing Sun Empire and a direct descendant of the gods, would be protected by the gods even if something happened, and there would definitely be no problems. But if you think about it from the perspective of those gods, it seems that they really don't care too much about their descendants. For ordinary people, the greatest significance of having children and raising future generations is actually inheritance. Be it the inheritance of bloodline or the inheritance of spiritual will. Because their lifespan is limited, but they are not willing to die, people naturally want to cultivate a successor to exist in this world on their behalf. This is the result of life instinct. And what about those gods? Do they, who have almost unlimited lifespans, need successors? You can't die at all. Of course you don't need to. Sui pondered for a moment and said, so, the deal between me and her will require me to reduce my support to her to a certain extent. That's not necessary, Xinghan explained. The weapons and equipment you have sent are already enough. She has probably been noticed by some gods a long time ago. However, because these things are simple in nature, they can be made in the magic world in theory. Those gods who are interested will come to study them and leave without taking them to heart. If you cut off the supply now, it will only make her suspicious of those gods. My suggestion is that you can give her things as usual and even send a few assembly lines to help Wu Wei build a few military factories. But it's best not to use some high-end things. For example, rockets that can fly very high and send things into space. Such things can fly to places that even gods cannot go. Once discovered, they will definitely arouse the curiosity of the gods, and then they will personally come to find out. Another example is your nuclear weapons on Blue Star. I heard you talk about this a lot when I first came here. After studying the principles of nuclear weapons mentioned on the internet, I found that the way this thing releases energy is very special. Not to mention the magic world, even Blue Star now has almost no weapons similar to it. Once discovered, I think even some gods will think that this is a brand new way of cultivation, which will definitely arouse the curiosity of all gods. Chapter 287. Nuclear weapons are indeed very special. Even the discovery and application of nuclear energy by Blue Star humans was full of chance and was not derived from the natural development of the technology tree. Instead, it is more like an important branch discovered out of thin air. The Blue Star people themselves don't understand nuclear energy, and this is indeed true. In short, after having a good talk with Xinghan, Sui calmed down a lot. Thinking about it, he and Wu Wei's development in the magical world was a bit too fast. So far, they have never encountered interference from demigods and gods. You must know that these are the real beings at the top of the pyramid in the magical world. They are hidden behind the scenes, but they control more than 90% of the world's resources. Sui had previously thought that, as long as he tried not to provoke these beings, he would be aloof and might not be interested in what happened among mortals. But when Xinghan said this, he realized that he still missed it. For the demigods and gods in the magical world, they are actually in a state where the upper limit is locked. The fact that there is such an extreme person as Xinghan who would rather give up a long life and only live for 100 years to change, and she is not the only one, and has become a system, shows that the gods in the magical world are also very aware of the dilemma they face, all the time no longer seeking change. And for the current magical world, what is the biggest variable? Naturally, it was Wu Wei who became a member of the trading platform and mastered the ability to communicate with other worlds. There is no doubt about this. Once those gods know the news, they will never remain indifferent. If you don't say that an old man in a family is like a treasure, I really don't know if you don't tell me these things, Sui said with emotion. Xinghan, who had just gotten the milk tea and took a sip, almost spat out a mouthful. I rolled my eyes at him and said, if you can't speak, you don't have to speak. 100 years old is still underage among elves, so he is no better than your little lover, sister. Xinghan, you. Ling, who was eating melon, suddenly blushed and interrupted her. In fact, Suyi just said that, and it was impossible to really regard Xinghan as an old man. Don't care how old she is, just look young and beautiful. The well-maintained uncle is in his 40s, and is known as the ageless male god. He looks like a handsome young man in his early 20s, but he is a programmer in his early 20s with a bald head. Putting this all together, do we need to say which of them would a normal person regard as a young person? Not to mention, that compared to those on Blue Star who may look younger, but are also mentally older, Xinghan is much younger than them in terms of mentality. This kind of existence with extraordinary power looks at things from a completely different perspective than ordinary people, and his mentality is naturally different. Xiaoxio made a joke, and Suyi brought the topic back on track. So what did you mean when you said there was someone like me in the magical world? Literally. Xinghan shrugged and said, I suspect that in more ancient times, someone once reached a realm above the gods, and then survived until now. He is older than all the gods, and controls everything in that world from the invisible corners of the magical world, including not allowing anyone to reach the starry sky, deliberately passing down wrong cultivation methods, so that no one in the entire magical world will ever be able to break through to a realm above the gods. Nipping all forces that threatened you in the cradle is a lot like you, isn't it? So, Yi thought about it carefully, and then said seriously, indeed, if it were me who became the strongest person in the world at a certain period of time, and had the ability to lock down those who came after me, I would indeed not allow someone stronger than me to appear and challenge me. There is nothing wrong with denying this kind of thing. Who doesn't want to master absolute power? This is just a guess, based on some clues I have discovered over the years. There is no evidence to confirm it. I just want to tell you, and that yellow-haired girl, not to view the world so simply. Xinghan waved his hand and didn't care much about it while a few people were chatting. Some living facilities and items that needed to be supplemented, as well as the corresponding personnel, were basically in place. A dock was opened, and the 12 landing craft inside made 5 or 6 trips to and from the ground and Blue Star in less than 2 hours. Most of the time was spent loading and unloading cargo and entering and exiting personnel. A total of more than 5,000 tons of various facilities and materials and more than 1,000 personnel were transported. Including the 500 lucky people who were qualified for tickets drawn on the Xianyu Group's official website, as well as the hundreds of Xianyu Group staff that Suyi planned to send to work on the starship. And after Old Man Lin contacted Kaishu, he urgently some special researchers were hired. Kaishu has already made preparations for the landing on the moon. This time Suyi planned to drive the transport ship directly over and drop the alien expansion module inside to build a long-term large-scale base. Although it could theoretically achieve fully automatic and unmanned operations, whether it was Xianxu or Xiangsun, they all thought it would be better to station a group of people up there. It's not that there's anything wrong with Bailu's cutting-edge technology. These automated machines are not stable enough. Rather, the Interstellar Alliance will deliberately build such facilities in scientific research institutions to be less durable. The purpose of the design is to require personnel to participate in regular maintenance. Not only these instruments, but also things like starships. In fact, if the Interstellar Alliance is willing, they can all be 100% unmanned, and the effect may even be better than human operation. Xiangsuan's computing power is even hundreds of thousands of times higher than Xianxu. In theory, Xianxu has no pressure to manage a super large enterprise with billions of people. If there is enough permission, Xiangsuan will have no problem taking over and controlling the entire starship. But the actual situation is that Bailu said it when he gave the transport ship to Suyi. Xiangsuan can only control the starship for basic operations, and 2 complex battlefields must be dealt with by personnel. This design is probably Also a layer of artificial restriction added by the designers of the Interstellar Alliance, because they are afraid that something will happen after the AI is too intelligent. Highly intelligent AI can control various instruments to complete unmanned operations, but AI can never maximize the performance of these equipment. In theory, Suyi only needs to send a group of people to maintain the equipment, but after all, it is going to the moon, and it is the first batch, so it is better to find more professional people for this matter. Shia Group certainly can't find such talents, so it naturally has to ask Jia's house for them. Of course, with Jia's house previous lunar exploration plan, it is impossible to have a reserve of hundreds of astronauts. No matter how big the family is, it is impossible to be so extravagant. So among the hundreds of people mobilized, in addition to the professional astronauts who have undergone rigorous training to prepare for the moon landing, there are also some astronauts from other fields, as well as those staff who are very familiar with the moon. Anyway, with the support of Shia Group's black technology, the standard for selecting people to go up does not need to be so strict. Of course, it is best to have the physique and knowledge reserves of a real astronaut. If not, it is actually not a big problem. As long as you have enough knowledge of the moon and strong skills in a specific field, it will be fine. Suyi can even see several old professors in their 50s and 60s coming with him. Chapter 288. Let's get on board the starship, family. It is said that the starship will depart in half an hour at most, and its destination is the moon. Considering that the people on the starship should not have taken this kind of transportation before, the starship will sail to the moon at a relatively gentle posture and speed, and it will take 8 hours to reach the moon after departure. Quick. Frozen also said in person that anyone who is interested can wear the work clothes on the starship and go to the moon to take a look. These work clothes are all black technology. It is said that they are very light and thin, but the effect is no different from spacesuits. There is no problem to go out of the cabin directly after putting them on. At that time, everyone can wear these work clothes to the surface of the moon. I don't know whether the bald eagle landing on the moon is true or not, but he can say this is a small step for me, but a big step for mankind. I'm the first anchor on Blue Star to land on the moon. I have to say something, right? Everyone, hurry up and think of some dirty words for me. Compared to the calmness of the Shia Group employees and the professionals transferred by the GSO official, the people who were randomly selected by the lottery seemed to be much more lively. As soon as they boarded the starship, it became lively. Among them, there were even talents who came to the starship with sports cameras and various live broadcast equipment to do live broadcasts. As soon as they came on, they kept talking, and it was obvious that they came prepared. They could easily mention the precautions after boarding the ship written by Shai and Shu, as well as the sailing time, sailing direction and purpose of the starship. Even the Kunpeng Star attack ship specifications, which had just been updated on the official website of Shia Group, had dozens of pages, and Suyi could only barely remember the length, width and height of the Kunpeng Star attack ship specifications. He remembered them clearly without missing any details. While wandering around, he popularized science to the people in the live broadcast room, and at the same time, he didn't forget to brag. Either he was bragging about the starship or the Shia Group. It was really full of emotional value, and Suyi was very happy to hear it. This is really a talent. On the bridge corridor, Suyi looked at the girl who was talking non-stop in the crowd, who had just entered the starship, and couldn't help but praise her. Beside him were Yuling and Crossing Hen, and Yang Yi, who was curious about what the starship looked like, so she took a special leave to watch the excitement. She can remember so many things in a short time. She is really a talent. Yuling nodded in approval. The various functions in this starship are extremely complex, and it takes dozens of pages to simply introduce the parameters. She can remember everything so quickly. Apart from anything else, her memory is definitely far beyond that of ordinary people. Why do you like that girl? Crossing Hen teased. Suyi looked at the female anchor carefully after hearing this, and then shook his head and said, she is definitely a goddess outside, but she is just average here. Yang Yi's appearance and figure are definitely top notch among ordinary people. Even so, before being nourished by a lot of magic food and water of life, there is a big gap between her and Yuling. Even now, she is inferior to Yuling in terms of appearance. Suyi likes her purely because of her pure and youthful temperament. This female anchor is much worse than Yang Yi in this aspect. He is now used to eating bran and has no great interest in this aspect. On the contrary, Suyi is more interested in the professional quality of live broadcasting and casually said, "Xianshu, go ask the female anchor if she has a job, and if so, if she has any idea of changing jobs. If yes, hire her and ask her to brag more. I love to listen." Many times, a few words from a big man can determine the direction of a small person's life. At this time, Han King, who was lucky enough to draw a ticket and discovered the huge business opportunity with her keen sense of smell, can be said to fully understand this sentence. She had just graduated from college and was unemployed at home. She thought that she could start live broadcasting to see if she could make some money. As a result, she bought a lot of equipment and started live broadcasting for a few days, but she didn't make a penny. Unexpectedly, she took a turn and got a chance to visit the starship of Xianyu Group. After asking the AI customer service of Xianyu Group and confirming that the starship can always maintain network connection with Blue Star and that live broadcasting is not prohibited, she immediately brought a bunch of equipment she bought. During the period, in order to avoid any misunderstandings, she also used her super memory to write down all the starship parameters released on the official website of Xianyu Group. As expected, as soon as the live broadcast started, she immediately went from a small anchor with less than 5 people in the live broadcast room to a super traffic boss with more than 5 million people online at the same time in the live broadcast room. Just when she used all her life's knowledge and wanted to take this opportunity to get a lot of traffic and increase her fans, a person appeared in front of her. Specifically, it was an AI. Most people know this now. The AI of Xianyu Group is named Xianshu. Dear Ms. Han King, our chairman Mr. Suyi admires your professional ability in live broadcasting and wants to hire you to join Xianyu Group. What do you think? Han King was a little nervous when she first talked to the holographic projection AI. After hearing what Xianshu said, she felt that she had heard it wrong. She was stunned for a long time before she could not understand. You mean Mr. Su wants to hire me? Yes, she subconsciously wanted to ask why, but she swallowed the words back when they came to her lips. Who cares why? She came from an ordinary family and couldn't find a satisfactory job after graduation. The live broadcast room looked crowded at the moment, but in fact it was all the huge traffic brought by the first voyage of the starship. It was hard to say how many people could stay. Compared with the Xianyu Group, which no one wanted to join. What were these? In the job hunting circle in Jia's today, joining the Xianyu Group is a higher ranking option than taking the civil service exam. Even the most basic employees of the Xianyu Group are definitely above the middle class if they are put outside. Not only are they well paid, but their work is also easy. She really couldn't think of a reason to refuse, so she said immediately, I agree. Okay, Ms. Han, your resume has been included in the internal database of the Xianyu Group. Please report to the Xianyu Group headquarters building or the branch in Jia's within a week. Have a pleasant trip, Xianshu said, and then he directly removed the projection and disappeared on the spot. Until now, Han King is still dizzy. Originally, I wanted to go to Starship to broadcast, live and get some traffic to make a little money, but I never expected that I would become an employee of Xianyu Group in one step. Who wouldn't be confused? Chapter 289. No, this is also possible. Damn. I graduated from a prestigious university, and I have submitted my resume to Xianyu Group countless times, but it was never accepted. She was lucky enough to get accepted by lottery. I'm a PhD, but Xianyu Group still refuses me if my major is not right. It is too absurd that this anchor was hired for no reason. It seems that it was Mr. Su who personally asked for the admission. Haha, it is true that being pretty has advantages. That's about it. Her professional quality is really great. As for the content about the starship she introduced, although it is all public information on the internet, do you dare to say that you can memorize it all in such a short time? That's right. If we really talk about beauty, who can be prettier than the boss lady of Shianayu Group? Suyi was in a good mood, and a random sentence was enough to change a person's life point at the same time. It also caused quite a stir on the internet, making countless people envious on Blue Star. After Xinghan went to Bald Eagle to calm down the gang, the situation was basically settled. In contrast, some unexpected situations occurred in Mengchuan City, which had just calmed down, Your Majesty. This autumn, the locust plague was rampant. The 3 provinces belonging to the Mengchuan kingdom in the northern border of the empire were all severely affected. As winter is approaching, a large number of civilians do not have enough food and fuel to survive the winter. If we don't find a way to solve it, I'm afraid many people will freeze to death. Your Majesty, half a month ago, because of the turmoil in the center of the empire, people with ulterior motives took the opportunity to start a rebellion. There were many rebellions in the 3 provinces of the Mengchuan kingdom. The largest group of rebels has more than 300,000 people and needs to be suppressed in time. Good news, Your Majesty. Yesterday there was news from the north that the current elf king from the Dark Elf tribe is willing to negotiate with you on behalf of the north. But we require that the negotiation site be set up in a valley more than 700 kilometers north of Mengchuan City, and you need to go there in person for the negotiation. It is completely beyond the influence of Mengchuan City, and is a completely unknown area for us. For your safety, I do not recommend that you accept this negotiation proposal. Emergency news. The underground oil lake located at the foot of the northern foothills of Mengchuan City has mutated, and it seems that some kind of terrifying monster is lurking inside. People from Jiaozhou said that the equipment they put down was completely damaged overnight. In the castle of Mengchuan City, Wei, wearing a crown, looked at the pile of reports and rubbed her eyebrows tiredly. The queen's position has not even warmed up yet, and a lot of government affairs have already made her a little breathless. This is just the things she needs to deal with in the 3 provinces in the north. If she really wants to lead the entire empire, she can't even think about the workload point. But she has already sat in this position, and she can't ignore such things. Even if she is impatient, she can only patiently deal with these things one by one. There is a locust plague and the grain production has decreased, so we should distribute the grain. Please discuss with the logistics department how much you need. This is the handwritten order. Wei casually wrote a few words on the memorial, and it was considered approved. Mengchuan City is not short of grain. Not only Wei knows this, but also the senior officials in Mengchuan City know it. But the reason why it has to be raised at this time is mainly because Wu's Mengchuan Kingdom's operating mechanism still has big problems, because the power was obtained too quickly and there is no time to improve it. For example, except for the grain that Wu has not taken out, all the grain and various materials in Mengchuan City are still kept by the logistics department of the Mengchuan City Army as before. The grain for disaster relief has to be transferred from the army. The officials in charge of this naturally do not have this power, so they must ask Wei for a decision. If there is a rebellion, suppress it. The 2 newly formed knights haven't experienced any battlefield fighting, so let them practice the negotiations proposed by the north. Since they are so insincere, just leave them alone for now. The oil lake changes. When commenting on this, Wei frowned. Didn't I ask you to keep a close eye on it and not allow any accidents to happen? From last night to now, unexpected situations have occurred, and there is no solution yet. You don't even know what is hidden at the bottom of the lake. For her, the loss of sim equipment is secondary. At most, she can import some more from Suyi. But those experts from Jiaozhou are all precious. If a group of them die here because of an accident, it will be difficult to explain to Suyi, and it will also have a great impact on her subsequent plans. As we all know, if you want to survive the severe winter, it is not enough to have food. Warm clothes and fire starters are indispensable. Now Wei not only has to prepare to take over the more than 2 billion aliens outside the north, but also needs to be responsible for the hundreds of millions of people in the 3 provinces in her territory. The pressure in this regard is still very high. It is impossible for Suyi to arrange everything for her clearly. After hearing that oil can be burned, she specially summoned a group of experts from Jia's to ask if it can be used as a heating fuel. The result is naturally negative. But those experts said that, although oil cannot be used as a fuel for heating, a huge coal mine was discovered in a place not far from Mengchuan City. Not only is the quality, but the reserves are outrageously exaggerated. The estimated reserves in this mine alone are greater than the total reserves in Jindi, Kyushu, where coal mines are produced. Unlike things like oil, mining of coal mines actually does not require that high of equipment. Of course, having good equipment will get twice the result with half the effort. But without good equipment, as long as there are people, it is not impossible to dig. It just so happens that the most indispensable thing in Mengchuan City right now is people, and among them there are a large number of powerful orcs, all of whom are good at mining. As soon as the batch of equipment she ordered from Suyi arrived, a team of experts from the team of experts who helped extract oil and build a refinery would come to help her solve the problem of coal mining. If something happens to these experts at this juncture, things will be difficult to handle. The primary job of this group of experts from Jia's is to take care of the oil and refinery plants. After losing a group of people and not having enough manpower, it will be difficult to recruit people to help her deal with the coal mines, even if she later asks Jia's to borrow someone or waits until the oil affairs are almost settled before asking others to help. It will be too late. I don't know how many people will freeze to death by then. The queen is angry. It's not that she doesn't know, but that she can't believe it. That's why the great magician stationed there who leads the team doesn't dare to report it rashly before he is completely sure. What is it? Dragon. Chapter 290. Dragon, a magical creature in the magic world. There are countless intelligent races in this world, but most of them are humanoid or quasi-humanoid, which is inseparable from their appearance. The humans in the magic world first appeared civilization, and after discovering the special power of magic, they began to pursue more extreme power and longer life. In this process, many powerful gods in the early days thought that the human body was too weak, so they began to modify humans according to their own perfect form. It was impossible for them to create life 100% out of thin air, but it was not a problem for these gods to make fine adjustments based on existing humans. So, under the crazy behavior of a group of biological lunatics with extremely powerful strength and no one in the world could match them, a large number of quasi-humanoid intelligent races appeared in this world. Most of them gradually disappeared in the long river of history because of various defects after being modified. And the few races that remained were mostly not as good as the original humans, so that after endless years, humans are still the masters of this world. The most perfect alien race is the elves. This race not only has a long lifespan that most humans have long dreamed of, but also has extremely beautiful appearance. However, compared with humans, elves also have huge defects. That is, it is difficult to reproduce, and the speed of cultivation is slow. On average, the speed of cultivation is far less than that of humans with a shorter lifespan. The reason why they can become the strongest alien race now is mainly because of their long life support and long-term accumulation. Compared with the apparent combat power of any human empire, the Elven Kingdom may not be much different, but if they really go to war with an empire, the final result will inevitably be a great defeat. Because even if they can fight with others to a draw in the early stage, the speed of human explosive soldiers is completely incomparable to that of elves. If the time is dragged a little longer, let alone those great empires of human beings that have been passed down for tens of thousands of years, even some powerful kingdoms may not be defeated by elves. The most powerful elves among the alien races are still like this, not to mention other humanoid alien races. What about goblins, dwarves, etc.? Although they are all immortal species, their combat effectiveness is worse than one another, and they are just at the level of soy sauce. Although the number of orcs is huge, they are short of high-end combat power because their brains are not so good. It is naturally difficult for them to become popular. This is the gap between the humanoid aliens created after birth and real humans. In comparison, these aliens always have defects of one kind or another. Although humans may not be perfect, From the perspective of the group, they are much more complete than these created aliens, but not all intelligent creatures in this world are created by those gods among the Warcraft. After reaching a certain level of strength, some powerful Warcraft will also give birth to wisdom, and they are no worse than humans, of course. This can only be regarded as an exception. Any life will give birth to wisdom after it becomes strong to a certain extent, which does not mean anything. In addition to these exceptions, there are also some races among those naturally born intelligent creatures. Dragons are such a race. The dragons in the magic world are oviparous creatures. In the words of Kyushu, they are big lizards with wings. Although it is not as powerful and mysterious as the dragon in the legend of Kyushu, the racial talent of this thing is really strong and terrifying. The young dragon that has just been hatched is stronger than the low-level human warriors once it can grow up. It has the strength of at least level 7. And it is different from ordinary human practitioners who either practice martial arts or magic, and only super geniuses can practice both magic and martial arts. Dragons have no concept of magic and martial arts at all. They don't need to do anything, just eat and sleep, and they can be much stronger than any warrior of the same level. And they are born with a special dragon language magic, which is independent of the human magic system, and is powerful and weird. They are born to practice both magic and martial arts. If you just grow up without doing anything, and you can reach level 7 per capita, it's fine. But this thing has something even more outrageous, that is, the cultivation talent of the dragon race is not the best, but it is not much worse than that of humans. A super high physical endowment is not inferior to the powerful understanding and cultivation talent of humans. As a result, any adult dragon is considered extremely powerful and difficult to defeat by people in the magic world. Except for some very lazy dragons that hardly take the initiative to practice. Any adult dragon you find is almost always at level 8 or 9. It is not uncommon to even encounter dragons with demigod strength. The only flaw of dragons is probably similar to that of elves. That is, it is difficult to reproduce. Of course, there is a causal relationship between the two. It is said that when the gods created the elves, they used the blood of dragons, but no one knows how they used it. So strictly speaking, the difficulty of elves to reproduce is likely inherited from dragons' strong strength, difficulty in reproduction, and highly developed wisdom. This has led to the fact that the dragon group is not only strong enough, but also extremely united and extremely protective. Anyone who dares to slaughter dragons without reason is likely to be retaliated by the entire dragon group. The human empires may not be afraid of these big lizards, but no one wants to get involved in these troubles for no reason. However, just as there are always some unsociable people or scum in a group, there will certainly be such individuals among intelligent creatures such as dragons. If such individuals only commit minor offenses within the tribe, they will usually be expelled from the tribe. Even if such expelled individuals are killed outside, the dragons generally do not care. If they commit major offenses, they will face execution. If they run away, the dragons will even issue a wanted order, asking all powerful people in the world to encircle and kill them. In this case, killing them will not only not incur the dragon's revenge, but they can even go to the dragon's lair to collect a considerable bounty. Those so-called dragon slayers, in essence, only kill the last two types of individuals eliminated or expelled by the dragon tribe. They are dragon slayers, brave and invincible, and can even hunt dragons. In fact, what was hunted was only the abandoned dragons of the dragon clan. In most cases, no one dared to touch the real dragons, including the 8th level peak dragon that we once hunted with her guards. It was actually an abandoned child expelled from the dragon clan. And now, a dragon appeared in her territory. And I haven't heard that the dragon clan has expelled a dragon recently. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291. Hunting individuals who have been driven out of the pack by dragons is a grand event in the wizarding world. Because of the war between humans and dragons, dragon-slaying warriors who can kill dragons have always been considered a symbol of power later, although the relationship between the two groups gradually became peaceful and harmonious due to the defeat of the dragon and its retreat to Dragon Island overseas. The gold content of this title has always been extremely high. If we really want to make an analogy, slaying the dragon is similar to the achievement of sealing the wolf to zoo in ancient Kyushu. It is the honor that every human cultivator dreams of, and it is also the object of admiration for many ordinary people. After the situation on both sides has stabilized, no one dares to hunt the dragon casually anymore. Now, if you want to become a dragon-slaying warrior, you have to wait for individuals within the dragon to be expelled or hunted. Therefore, over the years, this matter has gradually developed into an industry. There are many middle and low-level cultivators who hang out in the sea around Dragon Island and even make friends with giant dragons. Once you get the news that unpopular individuals are expelled from the dragon, or that the dragon rebels are being hunted down, you can immediately release this information in exchange for a large amount of wealth. Those high-end monks will also take notice and hunt down these giant dragons that are not protected by the dragon clan, trying to become famous in this way. Wiwi understands the process here very well. Because she herself is a dragon-slaying warrior. Although with her 7th level strength in both magic and martial arts, she can probably only defeat an underage young dragon, but it does not prevent her from having this title. Nor does it affect the middle and low-end monks and ordinary people who do not understand the things here. People's recognition of the powerful strength of Her Royal Highness the Imperial Princess. Of course, high-end monks know these things, but no one would go crazy and tell the world that Princess Wiwi of the Blazing Sun Empire deceived the world and stole her name. The dragon she killed was an abandoned son of the dragon clan that she did not want, or she relied on her bodyguards to do it. To win. After all, you or your relatives and friends may do this kind of thing in the future, and it would be pointless to undermine each other. Recently, I haven't heard that the dragon clan has expelled a certain giant dragon from Dragon Island, nor have I heard that the dragon clan is chasing a certain giant dragon on the throne. Wiwi's slender fingers tapped the metal armrest and muttered, "Have you tried communicating with that dragon?" "I tried, but didn't get any response. It's just that the equipment that was put down was quickly damaged every time. It didn't seem to want to pay attention to us, but it also didn't want to let us put things into the oil lake." The person who reported the news, the magician, said, "It is precisely because of this that we have never seen its true appearance, and we are not sure whether it is a giant dragon. After all, according to the rules of Dragon Island, a dragon that has not been exiled or wanted should not appear here, but the magic it released when it destroyed those devices was clearly dragon language magic. That's why we can't make a decision on this matter. We can only ask you to make the decision. A banished dragon. You don't need to think too much about it, just kill it. But if he killed the giant dragon recognized by the dragon clan so hastily, then this would be a big deal. It can even be called a diplomatic accident. It is very likely that it will attract revenge from the dragon clan. Of course, if you go to other people's territory to cause trouble, others don't dare to touch it casually. Only the dragon clan has this strength. If this thing were replaced by other intelligent races or powerful monsters, the grass on the graves would be several meters high by now. Chuck, please, give me your instructions, Your Highness the Princess." The old guard Chuck walked out immediately. "You go and let the giant dragon come out and talk. Pay attention to do what you can. If it is level 9 or above and is still unwilling to communicate, there is no need to force it." Wiwi said simply. She was keenly aware that there might be something wrong here, so she sent Chuck there. This old guard was already a 9th level strongman when she was born. He has been her guard since she was a child. He is loyal and extremely reliable in his affairs. The key is to be strong enough. A 9th level strongman who has been famous for a long time. Even if he faces a 9th level dragon with both magic and martial arts, there is no problem in defeating him to save his life. "Yes, Your Highness." Chuck immediately took the order and left the hall. Wiwi pondered for a moment and then continued. "First evacuate the Kyushu people nearby and let them think about the coal mine in the past 2 days. After dealing with the giant dragon, we can continue to work on the oil. In addition, send someone to Dragon Island to inquire about Dragon Island in the name of the Mengchuan Kingdom, a subordinate of the Blazing Sun Empire. Forget it, let's not rush this for now. We will wait until we determine what the monster in the oil is. Halfway through her words, Wei changed her words and gave up the idea of sending someone to Long Island to deliver the news. The main reason is that she is not sure whether a certain giant dragon on Dragon Island ran out on its own, or whether it ran out under the instruction of those giant dragons on Dragon Island. After the defeat of the war with humans, the Dragon Clan has been staying on Dragon Island. Nominally, they cannot leave Dragon Island at will. Those dragons who were expelled and wanted, regardless of life or death, naturally had nothing to do with the Dragon Clan if they ran away. But it's hard to say what the purpose of the giant dragon that escaped without being expelled. Especially in a sensitive place like Mengchuan City at such a tense time. Maybe the dragon couldn't stay on Dragon Island any longer. So it wanted to test the reaction of the Chiang Empire and see if it could unite with the foreign races in the north to open up Mengchuan City and move south, occupying a piece of territory on the continent to recuperate. No matter how good Dragon Island is, it is definitely not as rich as the vast continent. As the ruler of this area, she cannot afford to be careless. I hope nothing unexpected happens. Looking at the gradually prosperous Mengchuan City outside the castle, we side. The civil war in the empire has entered a white-hot stage. If it continues like this, the winner will be decided in 3 to 5 months at most. The foreign races in the north can be stabilized in the short term, but if the timeline is extended, it is not certain whether these foreign races will have other tricks. In fact, there is not much time left for Mengchuan City. This time of stable development is extremely precious now. Once any mistakes or omissions cause development to stagnate, it is possible to miss the window period when the Empire's civil war and the foreign races can only negotiate after their defeat. In the future, she will face pressure from both the Empire and the Northern aliens, and it will be difficult to develop at such a fast speed. She must seize this period of time and not let any accidents disrupt the construction and development in this area. The various plans that were originally laid out during this period. However, many times, the more you fear something, the more it will come. Less than 2 hours after the meeting, the old guard Chuck returned to Mengchuan City in a panic and brought back several bad news. Chapter 292. The mysterious creature in the oil lake is definitely a dragon, and not only does it refuse to communicate, it attacked me as soon as I saw it. Its strength should be at the peak of the 9th level, and it is only one step away from becoming a demigod. I'm incompetent and can only retreat temporarily. This dragon is very dangerous. I have ordered the troops stationed around the oil lake and the experts from Geos how to withdraw to the city immediately. According to my observation, this is a pure-blooded black dragon. I'm afraid that its status in the Dragon Clan is very high. If we rashly surround it, if we want to suppress it, I suggest that we can only expel it. Otherwise it is very likely to retaliate against Dragon Island. In addition, given its powerful strength, if we want to forcibly expel it, we may have to make full preparations and mobilize enough strong men to fight together. The dragon race itself has the title of invincible in the same level. As one of the descendants of the Dragon King, the pure-blooded black dragon is even more terrifying. Even if we mobilize a large number of strong men to encircle and suppress it, there is a high possibility of heavy casualties. Your Highness may have to be mentally prepared. This is all the information Chuck brought back. This 9th level strong man who has been famous for a long time and has really killed a dragon looked very embarrassed when he returned to the castle and even had several serious injuries on his body. It can be seen that the dragon is very powerful. At the same time, his view that the dragon is a pure-blooded black dragon also makes this matter more difficult. As a group, dragons naturally have class divisions within them. Just like the moon elves and dark elves are the masters of the elves, not only with nobler bloodlines, but also with stronger strength. Naturally, there are such branches in the Dragon Clan. Black dragons and white dragons are the two branches with the highest status among the dragons, and dragon kings usually only appear in these two branches. Ordinary dragons can almost have invincible power at the same level. A 9th level black dragon has such strong combat power that only a demigod can kill it steadily in a one-on-one situation point. But it is obvious that Wuyi does not have demigods under her. There are some in the Empire, but they will definitely not come out to deal with such small matters. Well, once a 9th level dragon is rampant, it can destroy several huge cities in minutes and cause tens of millions of casualties, but for those high-ranking demigods and gods, this is still a small matter and not worth mentioning. So she can only use the power she currently has to find a way to deal with this dragon. This matter is not easy to deal with. There are only so many high-level warriors under his command. If a group of them died because of such an inexplicable thing, it would be a real loss. Wuyi pondered for a moment and said, "Do you think we should inform Dragon Island about this matter?" Chuck was stunned for a moment. He was full of muscles and loyalty. He was usually not interested in such things. Anyway, he would chop whoever the princess told him to chop, so there was no need to think too much. After reacting, he immediately said he didn't know. Wuyi shook her head and didn't ask any more questions, just signaled him to leave. This matter really gave her a headache. The main thing was that even if she decided to use the simplest and crudest method, directly mobilized people to drive away or expel this giant dragon, there would be huge losses, not to mention that a black dragon with noble blood in the dragon clan suddenly left Dragon Island and ran to this place where no one was going to shit. There was no news from Dragon Island yet. This matter itself revealed a weird atmosphere. If it is not handled well, it may be a big trouble again. Just when Chuck was about to leave, he seemed to suddenly remember something and said quickly, "By the way, Your Highness, the person in charge of oil extraction in Jiuzhou asked me to tell you something." "What is it?" "They said that the thing in the oil lake might not have been there from the beginning, but suddenly ran out in the past 2 days. Before they mined the oil lake, they had already used a large number of special equipment to scan all areas of the lake exposed on the surface. The dragon is very large. If it was in the lake at the time, it would be impossible to find it at that time, and they have been mining the oil lake for almost half a month, and the collection points set up are all over the lake. All areas are in order to collect enough and uniform oil samples. During this period, they did not move the equipment at will. If the black dragon had been in the lake and was affected by these equipment and destroyed the equipment, it should not have waited until now. But the actual situation is that they had collected data for more than 10 days without any accidents, and it was very smooth. So the experts in Jiuzhou believe that this monster should have appeared in the lake recently. As for why it appeared here and what its purpose is, they don't know. But according to them, after the equipment was damaged, the specific reason was not known at first. The workers and engineers who went to repair the equipment found the dragon from a distance more than once. There was even a worker who stared at the dragon for half a minute at a distance of no more than 10 meters. But in the end the dragon did not do anything to anyone. It just destroyed the equipment and left again. At present, there have been no casualties in Jiuzhou because of this dragon. Instead, the Mengqiu and City Army we sent to patrol the lake and protect the Jiuzhou experts disappeared around the oil lake. Judging from the situation at the scene, this is most likely the work of the dragon. You mean, the dragons choose not to harm those people from Jiuzhou? We frowned. Because of the previous failure in the war with humans, the dragons have always been hostile to humans. Those dragons who were expelled by the dragons and fled to the mainland basically killed anyone they saw, regardless of ordinary people, nobles, or practitioners. As a result, someone now told her that the dragons only killed people from the native magic world and would not harm those people from Jiuzhou from Blue Star. Is this fucking reasonable? She thought that the people in these two worlds were essentially no different except for their living habits and appearance. That's not what I meant, Chuck said quickly. This is the information that the experts from Jiuzhou asked me to convey. I don't know if it's reliable, although he didn't like to use his brain. It was more or less outrageous that the dragons picked people to kill, and he certainly didn't believe it. Just helping to pass on a message. Whether to believe the other party depends on Wuyi's decision. Wuyi pondered for a moment and said, "Find the person in charge of mineral resource collection in Jiuzhou." Chapter 293. The sudden appearance of the black dragon itself reveals something strange. We was a little confused, but the matter was here, and it would definitely not work to leave it alone. Since there is a discovery in Jiazhou, no matter whether the discovery is true or false, it is better to find someone first and ask. For some reason, she had a feeling that maybe the Kaishu people could really solve this problem. After a while, the two people in charge of Jiazhou's headquarters in the magic world rushed to Wu's palace. One naturally came to the magic world early and was responsible for managing the army and various military operations. Lin Yiling. The other came recently and was responsible for the mining and construction of various basic factories in the magic world. His name was Lu Zhu and is only in her early 30s, but she is the person in charge of a large state-owned resource enterprise in Kyushu, and her promotion to the position depends not on her background and connections, but on her strength, which can be said to be her full ability. After all, he is responsible for exploring another almost completely unknown world. The risks to be dealt with and the various things to be dealt with are extremely complicated. Naturally, it is impossible for Jiazhou to send idiots with connections. Both of them were granted hereditary titles in the Blazing Sun Empire by Wei, which was not to low point, and she also allowed these people from Kyushu not to use those messy etiquettes. When they saw her, so after meeting, the two just said hello with a little respect and that was it. Wei didn't care and just asked quickly, I heard that you discovered something different about the giant dragon that appeared in the oil lake. Can you tell me more about it? The two looked at each other, and Lu Zuan immediately said, sure, I believe Her Majesty the Queen has heard what our General Tochik said. Actually, we have more special information than that. This matter has been weird and abnormal from the beginning. I'm not familiar enough with the magical world, so I don't dare to have anyone forward this information to you rashly. We can only hide it for the time being. As she spoke, she took out her mobile phone and pointed to a projector in Wu's palace that she had asked someone from Kyushu to help install some time ago. Wei immediately signaled her to be free and then said in confusion, where do you think the weird thing is? Lu Zuan explained, on the first day it appeared in the oil lake. Several teams of our engineers responsible for maintaining equipment encountered it. After a pause, she added, 2 days before the magicians and warriors sent by your Mengchuan city to protect our exploration team discovered this giant dragon. In other words, you unarmed engineers who have never practiced before actually discovered its existence 2 days before our Mengchuan city's professional monk army. We's eyes narrowed. What's its purpose? It seems to be trying to communicate with our workers, but none of the workers who have encountered it these days have ever used the world language pass card. They can only barely communicate with the people in Mengchuan City through our special translators. That's it. Naturally I can't understand the more complex dragon language, so it's difficult to give feedback, but even so, it has no intention of harming our engineers. It will leave directly after repeated communication to no avail and then find another team. During this period, it did not harm anyone. Until one time, when it found the engineer we sent to the underground oil lake again, it happened to be encountered by the Mengchuan city guards patrolling the oil lake. It seemed to be afraid of being attacked by Mengchuan. When the people in the city found out, they vomited fire and left in a hurry. After that, it seemed that it had realized that it had been discovered. After discovering this matter, he simply stopped hiding it and instead kept searching for people from Kyushu underground, trying to say something. During this period, he killed many members of the Mengchuan city guard team, but he never injured them. A native of Kyushu. Until 3 days ago, the magician responsible for the security there thought it was too dangerous and evacuated everyone there. Lu Zuan explained while operating, and by the time she finished speaking, she had almost finished explaining. So, what does it say? Wei knew at a glance that the dragon must have been filmed when he was talking to the Kyushu people, and what Lu Zuan wanted to release now was what the dragon said. Ordinary Kyushu people could not understand these words, but the two highest ranking Kyushu officials stationed in Mengchuan City present had both used the world language pass card. Can understand any language in the world. Naturally, it also contains dragon language. You'd better see for yourself. This is the main reason why we chose to suppress the news and didn't even tell the magician responsible for the safety of the oil lake. After Luzuan said that she pressed the phone. The projector installed in the castle hall suddenly lit up. On the curtain that just stretched out not far away. There was also a slightly dim video. A hoarse and dull voice suddenly came from it. Even people who have never heard dragon language can tell that it is some kind of language from the regular and constantly changing hoarse voice. As a genius trained by the royal family of the Blazing Sun Empire, we can understand dragon language even without the all-world's language permeability card given by the system when binding to the trading platform. Naturally, she understood the meaning of this giant dragon's words immediately mean the gods sent me to ask, where are you from? The moment she heard these words in the video, Wee's face darkened and became extremely ugly. She knew that what she did would attract the attention of the gods sooner or later, but she never expected that this day would come so early. And the gods who came to ask about this matter were not even the ancestors of the Chiang Empire, but people sent by the dragons who were expelled to Dragon Island. Seeing this, LV Zuan hurriedly said, there is another one, and it said a lot. Wee heard the inquiry in her tone and immediately took a deep breath and said, keep releasing. If you don't want to die, come to me. The gods are watching your every move and are very interested in your things. Go to Dragon Island. The dragons collected here in Jinazhou have said a lot of things, and every sentence is about gods. The meaning from beginning to end is very simple. You have been targeted by the gods, but the gods of our dragon clan are very interested in you. If you don't want to die, come and contact me, and I will take you to Dragon Island. Just for this information, let alone Jinazhou people. Wee was silent after listening. Chapter 294. Because the information conveyed by the Black Dragon was so explosive, the two persons in charge in Jinazhou did not dare to spread the news. After much thought, they took advantage of Chuck, Wee's most trusted guard, to go out to check the situation. He revealed it to Chuck and told him to only tell Vivi. As the person in charge of Jiazhou here, whether it is Lin Yilang or Luzuan, there is certainly no threshold for meeting Wee. But suddenly receiving such important information made them somewhat distrustful of other people in Mengchuan City. It was a bit too eye-catching to ask for a meeting at this juncture, so I decided to pass on some news through Chuck first. What do you think? After a while, Wee asked. I can't see it, Lin Yilang said with a bitter smile. We have only been here a few months at the earliest, and we still know too little about the world. It is difficult to make correct judgments on these things. The reason why it is so mysterious is that I subconsciously think that this kind of information related to gods may be very important. According to our military's confidential incident management regulations, the confidentiality level of this information has been increased, and the information has been blocked. Sharp, Wee praised sincerely. Mengchuan City has now gathered a large number of people who have come to seek refuge, and the group of confidants who have been following her from a long time ago have become a minority. To put it bluntly, many people think that she, the Queen of Mengchuan, is valuable in troubled times, so they gathered here. This is confidence in her, but the meaning behind what the giant dragon said is that these Kaishu people brought by Mengchuan City, as well as the special weapons and equipment in the hands of the Kaishu people, have been targeted by the gods, and the gods may do something to this place at any time. Something bad. If this kind of news spreads, it would probably be a devastating blow to the morale of Mengchuan City. Not to mention anything else, those people who came here for speculative purposes might have fled in a matter of minutes after hearing this kind of news. For people like Lin Yilang and Lu Zuan who are stationed in the magic world, as well as Su Yi, a blue star person who has never been to the magic world, but has a certain understanding of it, the gods here are simply those who have been cultivated. Extremely powerful individual. Making an enemy of such a being can be dangerous, with little hope of possible victory. But when it comes to making an enemy, you will definitely have to fight. If you can't defeat it, let's talk about it differently. But for the natives of the magical world, the meaning of the word god is definitely not as simple as a powerful practitioner. Rather, it is a god who can call the wind and rain in a true sense, and has the power to change the world and create life. After all, except for humans and a few native races, most of the intelligent life groups in this world were artificially created by these gods for These creatures, there is essentially no difference between the gods of the magical world and the creator god. Point. How many monks have the courage to draw a sword against the god of creation? I'm afraid not many. Point. Therefore, once the news spreads that the gods are eyeing Mengchuan City, the momentum that Mengchuan City has finally built up will probably collapse in a matter of minutes. At this point, she really had to thank these Kaishu people for their rigor, which prevented the news from spreading as soon as possible. She asked herself that the soldiers and officials in Mengchuan City were completely unable to achieve this kind of response speed and confidentiality. This is what we should do. Lu Zuan was relieved after hearing this. They didn't discuss this matter with Wei Wei beforehand, and they weren't sure whether they were doing the right thing or not. I just intuitively thought that there might be some big secret involved, and it was best not to spread, so I decided to block the news. Now it seems that it is indeed the right choice. No matter which world it is in, it is best not to spread such secret information that may have great implications. Many times, concealing such secrets is not to harm anyone, but just to ensure that the normal order of operations will not be disrupted by sudden rumors. Once chaos arises, it will be even less conducive to solving the problem. This is all based on experience. After thinking for a moment, Wei Wei said, in that case, I would like to find an opportunity to meet this giant dragon. Are you interested in going with me? Don't worry, I will find a way to ensure your safety before going. Compared to powerful practitioners like her who are capable of both magic and martial arts, people like Lan Crossing are still too fragile. Being so close to a dangerous existence like a giant dragon, it is not an exaggeration to say that they will die if they touch each other. How to figure out how to ensure the safety of these Kaishu people is enough to give her a headache. Of course. Lin Yilong immediately answered. Just kidding. That's a mythical creature. Okay, who wouldn't want to see it? Afraid? That's nothing to be afraid of. Okay, then you go back first. I'll let someone notify you when you're ready. Wei Wei waved her hand. Then he returned directly to his resting place, directly entered the private space of the trading platform, and initiated a contact invitation to Su Yi. After a while, the two met in the trading space. Without waiting for Su Yi to ask, she told Su Yi everything she had encountered. After hearing this, Su Yi was not too surprised, but said with some regret, unfortunately, I was planning to tell you about this in the next 2 days. But I didn't expect the gods to notice your Mengchuan City so quickly. It seems that the actions during this period are indeed a bit too big. You knew that the gods would target me a long time ago. Wei Wei frowned. It's not that long ago. I just discovered it recently. Did the star prayer tell you? Yes, sure enough. Wei Wei sighed. I still know too little about these gods and demigods. I always thought that these beings were high above and would not take such a small matter happening in Mengchuan City seriously. They only wanted to develop quickly and then quickly sweep the continent to strengthen their strength. What did the star prayer say? Su Yi was immediately happy when he heard her question. Never thought that one day he, a blue star person, would have to teach Wei Wei from the magic world about things in their own world. It is somewhat anti-Xiangang. She said that the gods are not as detached as we imagine. They also have their own shackles. Usually, these gods seem to be indifferent to worldly affairs, but once something appears in the world that may break their shackles, these gods will definitely go crazy at the first time. The reason why they are targeting you now instead of taking action to do anything to you is that they don't know what the situation is here, and they are still testing and observing. After all, there are more than one gods, and they also don't know who else is targeting you. Before they have a thorough understanding, they should not take the initiative to expose their purpose, and once they are sure that you can connect different time and space, this will definitely drive them crazy. Chapter 295. To put it bluntly, the reason Wei Wei is still here in Mengchuan City after playing like this is not because the gods are kind-hearted. Moreover, the gods themselves are not in a group. Everyone wants to be alone and does not want to make the matter a big deal before they are sure. That's why they were all observing in secret. Once they are really sure that she can find another world, then these gods will naturally feel that they have found the dawn of breaking the shackles. then they will either not take action, or they will definitely be thunderous without any hesitation. Point to put it bluntly, the so-called gods are just a group of old silver coins who have lived for who knows how many thousands of years. As for why the dragon gods are looking for you, I don't know. I have to go back and ask Xinghan later. Suyi shrugged. Point to put it bluntly, his understanding of the magical world basically exists in the encyclopedia of the magical world Yuling, and the popular science of the big boss Xinghan. Point of course he didn't know anything about what they didn't say. No need to ask. He said with a headache. I probably know why. About 100,000 years ago, the dragon race was actually an extremely powerful race in the magical world. It was on par with the human race and occupied almost half of the land. At that time, these human empires, including our Blazing Sun Empire, did not exist at all. Humanity could only be regarded as a very top force in this world, and it was far from the powerful strength that crushes all races now. It is said that there were several gods level beings in the dragon clan at that time, and their high-end combat power was no weaker than that of humans, until the war broke out. Humans united with small races such as elves and dwarfs to encircle and suppress the dragon clan. The war lasted for more than 500 years, and during this period, more than 100 billion humans died. The original population was prosperous, with a total number of hundreds of millions. After hundreds of years of war, the powerful dragon clan was almost wiped out. There were no dragons left, and the total number plummeted to less than a million. The gods and demigods with the highest combat power on both sides have come and gone, but when the middle and low level dragon clan is almost completely wiped out, the dragon clan's superior gods can only admit defeat in the end, leaving the remaining dragon clan in despair. When to Dragon Island beyond the mainland, the essence of this war is not because humans are more talented and powerful than the dragons, but because humans' cultivation speed and reproductive capabilities are not comparable to the dragons. In the early days of the war, facing the powerful dragon army, humans were almost defeated and lost most of their territory, but when the battle lines gradually lengthened and the war lasted longer and longer, the dragon clan discovered something very terrifying. The reproduction speed of human beings is so terrifying. It only takes a dozen years for a human to reach adulthood. After adulthood, even if you are powerless, you can still rely on some magic facilities to exert a certain degree of combat effectiveness on large-scale battlefields. Oh, and the speed at which humans can cultivate a mid to high level cultivator is far beyond the dragon's imagination. Xiang, among hundreds of people, you can find one or two magicians with good talent. They can start practicing magic at the age of 12. After practicing until they are 40 or 50, there is a certain chance of reaching the 7th level. Even if without using any magic facilities, it can threaten some weaker adult dragons with its own strength. And how huge is the human base in this world? More than 100 billion. Based on the fact that a billion people can have 10 million newborns every year, a population of 100 billion can have more than 1 billion newborns every year. This is still the most conservative. The actual situation is that during those years, high-level human beings used various methods to encourage all humans to have children, and the number of newborns far exceeded what I mentioned. This leads to a result, that is, among the billion newborns born every year, in a few decades, even using a ratio of 500 to 1, there will be 2 million magicians of level 7 or above. This is a rough calculation, and the actual situation will only be much higher than this, and this is just for magicians. Martial arts training is easier than magic, and there is no need for qualifications. The probability of appearing as a 7th level warrior is higher than that of magicians. Much bigger, although a giant dragon will reach the 7th level after it reaches adulthood. How long does it take for a giant dragon to reach adulthood? 300 years, and it is very difficult for giant dragons to reproduce. For a dragon clan with a scale of hundreds of millions, the number of newborn dragons every year does not even exceed 30,000. With such a terrifying gap in reproduction ability and cultivation speed, as the timeline lengthens, there is no doubt that the dragon will fail. Speaking of this, we side. So speaking of it, it is impossible for the gods on the dragon side and the gods on the human side to be in the same group. If you contact me at this time, you probably just want to disgust the human gods who are eyeing me. Hearing her talk about the history of the war between dragons and humans, Suyi couldn't help but take a breath. A super long war that lasted for 500 years and resulted in over 100 billion casualties was probably only possible for those gods who didn't take human life seriously. To do such a thing. Those giant dragons are really miserable. They are obviously powerful. They can have terrifying strength without doing anything since they are born, but they are defeated by people who have no brains to give birth to children. Where does this make sense? But thinking about this, he felt a little confused and said, out of 500 people, there can be a 7th level magician or above. Is there such a probability in your magical world now? This has been developed for more than 100,000 years. It can't be worse than that time, right? No. We said quite calmly. Now, let alone 500 people, it's hard to say whether there will be a 7th level magician among 5,000 people. After all, the times are different. It is said that at that time, because it was a war period, some gods personally intervened to formulate some very rigorous talent screening and training systems, which almost did not let go of every talented human newborn. That's why there is such a probability of the birth of high-level strongmen. This was also the confidence of humans and dragons at that time. Now, even if you have talent and are born in an ordinary family, it is difficult to cultivate any skills. If the family has a little money, sending people to practice martial arts may have some hope, and people will be willing to recruit them if their talents are discovered. Forget about learning magic. Except for the magic empire. If you want to become a high-level magician, the resources invested are astronomical, and many nobles cannot afford it. No, is it the time to talk about this now? I've told you the situation, so tell me if you have any solution. What should I do? Just leave it alone. Suyi shrugged and said, if the gods want to deal with you, what can I do? But don't worry, when the time comes, you can hide in the trading platform and never go out. Those shitty gods will definitely not be able to find you. At least your life safety can be guaranteed. Since we have been trading for so long, I can still provide you with enough food and drink, and you will stay in the trading space and die alone in the future. No, do you have a conscience? Chapter 296. Then whether I have a conscience or not doesn't prevent us from being unable to defeat them, even if we are tied together. Faced with Weewoo's questioning, Suyi rolled his eyes at her. By the way, remember to find time to send those 20,000 people back to me recently, since the situation Xinghan said has already happened. It is obviously very difficult for Suyi to deal with this magic world at this stage. He can't deal with those gods at all. Although Xinghan also said that those nuclear weapons may pose a certain threat to the gods, and this thing has never appeared in the magic world, it may have unexpected effects if it is used directly. But it's still the same problem. No matter how powerful the external force is, it is still an external force in essence, which is very rigid and inflexible. You take advantage of the gods' unpreparedness, gather them together, and do a big job, and you may get a lot of gains. But what about after that? Those who are directly bombed may not be killed, not to mention that there are countless gods in the magic world. It is impossible to gather them all together and catch them all in one fell swoop. This is simply unrealistic. Unless the technological level reaches a level of the Interstellar Alliance in Bailu's world, their Star Destroyer can destroy a planet with one shot from a few light years away, so it shouldn't be a big problem to hit a god. Otherwise, there is no hope of defeating those almost immortal gods through the technology route. All kinds of power belong to oneself, which is too flexible. It is difficult for technological civilizations to deal with such existence, unless there is a generation gap in civilization level and they can achieve dimensionality reduction. Suyi definitely has no way. He can't go to Bailu and ask him to give him a whole Star Destroyer, right? That thing can't even be touched by others, so where can he get it? When the gods really want to take action, the best solution is to let Weewoo give up everything there, withdraw the people from Jiazhou, and send all her trusted subordinates to Blue Star through trading. As a member of the trading platform, she can't leave the magic world, but it doesn't matter. The private space of the trading platform does not limit how long you can stay, so just hide in at point anyway. Suyi can supply her with any materials, as long as Suyi develops to the point where he can deal with those gods. He can naturally counterattack the magic world through Wee Point. This seemingly joking statement is actually the best way for Wee to deal with the gods at this stage. Actually, there is another way. Wee suddenly said, how many times have you used the matching card? Regardless of the level, the initial system gift is not included. Why do you ask this? Suyi hesitated for a moment, but still answered, once, I used a low-level matching card. He bought a low-level matching card once, when he had accumulated 100 points before, and then matched with Bailu Point. The follow-up is a dual-thread transaction. He needs to trade with two different worlds at the same time, and because of various accidents in the middle, it is very energy consuming, so he has never used the matching card later. After all, trading with two worlds at the same time is already very strenuous, especially in the magic world. If you want to develop further, there are many things to deal with. Point. So he did not continue to explore new worlds. His original plan was to save up the first 10,000 points to open the permanent portal to the magic world, and then save up another 10,000 points before considering using the 10,000 points to draw intermediate matching cards and try to open a new trading world. Point. After all, after opening the permanent cross-border portal, he would not have to do everything himself, and there would be fewer things to deal with. Point. And by that stage, the situation in the magic world should basically be stable, and there would not be too many unexpected things happening. That's good. Wee breathed a sigh of relief and then asked, have you read the rules for using matching cards carefully? These matching cards actually have some restrictions. For example, low-level matching cards are not unlimited. A junior member of a trading platform can only use 9 low-level matching cards, or 3 intermediate matching cards, or 1 low-level matching card each year. This is a 3-digit number, which means that if you use 7 low-level matching cards, then even if you have 10,000 points and buy an intermediate matching card, you can't use it. You have to wait until next year to use it. And if you use a low-level matching card, then even if you have accumulated 1 million points, you have to wait until next year to use a high-level matching card. Wait, what do you mean by telling me this now? Suyi frowned and said, are you going to let me try my luck by matching trading partners? Yes. We admitted it directly. What about yours? I have used up all 9 opportunities for my primary matching card this year. Wee shrugged and said helplessly, but my luck seems to be not very good. I failed to match 8 times. The only time I matched successfully, the trading partner I matched with was completely unable to communicate, let alone any transaction. What do you mean by completely unable to communicate? Don't you have the universal language card? You shouldn't be unable to communicate, right? Suyi didn't quite understand. It's not that we can't communicate at the language level. Wee thought for a while and said, this is a communication barrier caused by differences in thinking. In fact, because of the existence of the Wanji language permeability card, I can understand every word that the transaction partner I met said, and even knew what it said. What is the purpose of the words? But here's the problem. You can understand what it is saying and what it means, but you can't communicate with it because the unknown creature has been there since it met me. Talking to myself, why don't you humble human beings worship the Lord of the past when you see them? Human woman, the noble ruler of all worlds is willing to accept you as a maid. Why don't you kneel down to thank you and deal? The supreme god can get himself. There is no need to trade for anything you want to own. The ancient gods are whispering, if you don't kneel down and become a slave, the endless curse will become your eternal nightmare. In short, they are all such inexplicable words. I talked to it for a long time, and it ignored me. It kept talking to itself, and gave me, it feels like the AI in those mobile phones you send me, which is outrageous. In the end I couldn't hold it any longer, and said something nonsense about the old lord of the old gods and shabby stuff. Get out of here. And then it went crazy in the trading space, and then was kicked out of the trading platform. I have used the primary matching card 10 times and haven't met a serious trading partner. On the contrary, you use the primary matching card for the first time and found a very valuable world. According to what you said before, that the person you're trading with is pretty easy to talk to, right? As it turns out, I'm unlucky. And you're very lucky. Chapter 297. Maybe this is the difference between the European emperor and the unlucky one. So, Yi waved his hand lightly, indicating that this was just basic operation. Relax. Although you can't match the right trading partner, at least you matched me. To some extent, this is also a kind of luck. Get lost. I'm not here to listen to your nonsense. Wee rolled her eyes at him and said, what do you mean? Do you want to try using the matching card? My opinion is that you should use the low level matching card 5 times here first. If you can't match the right partner, then don't use the remaining 3 chances. Just use the intermediate matching card once. It's both a low level card and an intermediate card. How can there be so many points? Suyi said unhappily. Pointy is not a bank, and the thousands of points are all hard earned during this period of time, and he hasn't even accumulated enough 10,000 points to open the permanent portal. 5 primary matching cards are okay. It's only about 500 points, so it's okay to spend it. But if the 5 cards are not matched with a suitable trading partner to solve the current problem of the magic world, not only will the points be wasted, but the remaining points will not be enough to buy 10,000 intermediate matching cards. How many points do you have in total? I still have about 5,000 points. I will make up for the shortfall. Wee was obviously prepared and told her plan. I will give you all the points required for the 5 low level matching cards. The 10,000 points for the intermediate matching card should be enough for us to pull together. This is 100 benefits for you, and there is no reason for you to refuse. You pay? Suyi raised his eyebrows. The trading partner gave him points to buy matching cards to match other trading partners. This is quite new. As for the points, he thought that this woman had spent all her points on matching trading partners. She complained about this more than once and often said that she didn't have enough points. Now it seems that she was obviously talking nonsense and pretending to be poor. I didn't expect that there were more than 5,000 points in my pocket. If she hadn't been forced into a corner, Suyi felt that she might have been able to quietly save up tens of thousands of points to buy herself an intermediate matching card and use it again. As for what she just said about having used the primary matching card 9 times and not being able to use the intermediate matching card, Suyi didn't believe a word of it. Knowing the rules, he didn't think this woman would be so stupid as to use up all the times she had used the primary matching card this year. I'll pay. Is that okay? Why are you so fussy? Wei said impatiently. That's because you have too many previous convictions and you don't tell the truth, Suyi complained, and then opened the transaction panel. Money. If the person talking about this matter was Beilu, he would naturally not hesitate to ask so many questions and would directly agree to it. But Wei was too dishonest, a bad woman, and she couldn't be trusted at all. If she hadn't been suddenly targeted by the gods and couldn't deal with it, she probably wouldn't have told Suyi about the restrictions on the use of matching cards just like that. She said a few days ago that she wanted to share the magic world with him. She is a master of empty promises. However, she did not make any trouble this time. She decisively opened the transaction interface and gave Suyi 500 points directly, the points for 5 primary matching cards. Try to match them first. If you really hit the mark, the remaining 400 points will be given to you. Don't worry, even if the first card matches a suitable trading partner, I will tell you that it was the 5th card, so that you can feel better. So, Yi waved his hand and left the trading space directly. This is his exclusive space. After binding the transaction with Wei, he cannot use matching cards. After all, if he matches a new trading partner, he will be transferred to another trading space. At that time, after completing the transaction with the new trading partner, he may get some special items. In order to ensure the privacy of the trader, he will be transferred back to his own private space after the transaction with the new trading partner. It is impossible to return to this exclusive space with the old trading partner. Therefore, The trading platform rules simply stipulate that the use of matching cards must temporarily leave the current exclusive trading space point. This is for privacy protection considerations. Trading on the trading platform often relies on information asymmetry, so the platform rules in this regard are usually more stringent. Return to your personal space point. Although I cheated these 500 points and then told Wee that all the matching failed and then went to her to get all the remaining thousands of points and continued to cheat. Probably she could only believe it. But Suyi still has a bottom line, but he didn't think about this. I bought a primary matching card directly. According to the old process before, I returned to Blue Star and washed my face seriously and lit the incense burner and several incense sticks that were said to have been blessed in the temple and worshipped seriously. After the process was completed, Suyi chose to use it. Primary matching card 1. Searching for trading objects for you across time and space. Matching failed. Fuck. Looking at the 4 bright words in front of him, Suyi kicked the incense burner over. What a crap thing. It has no effect. After praying for a long time, and it has been blessed. I sell 1 stick of incense for 3000 yuan. You wait for me. Fortunately, I have other preparations. After saying that, he was not discouraged. He took out 3 electronic incense sticks again and found an electronic incense burner to place them neatly. As soon as the switch was turned on, bursts of electronic Buddhist sounds suddenly came from the private space of the trading platform, and the colorful marquees made the whole space fancy. Although these lights do look a bit difficult to evaluate. What if the god of the trading platform is attracted by this? This thing is like drawing cards in online games. Since it doesn't take normal incense, it must take some Sibir incense, right? While muttering, he followed the process again. He bowed to the Sibir god of wealth in front of him several times seriously, mainly because he didn't know who to worship, so he simply chose the god of wealth. After all, the god of wealth really has an electronic statue, and his eyes can glow. After completing the ceremony rigorously, Suyi took a deep breath, bought another primary matching card, and chose to use it directly. The next moment, a completely different voice from the previous failed match sounded from his ears, and Suyi's eyes widened immediately. Primary match card 1. Searching for a trading partner for you across time and space. Match successful. Oh my god, Sibir worship is really useful. Warm tips. The website is about to be revised, which may cause the reading progress to be lost. Please save the bookshelf and reading record in time. We apologize for the inconvenience caused to you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298. Suyi felt as if he was wrapped in warm water, which was very comfortable, but there was no special feeling of suffocation. He had experienced this situation twice. One time was when he met Wei for the first time, and the other time was when he met Bailu for the first time, when he used the primary matching card. Suyi, who had experienced it twice, knew very well what this meant. The match was successful. If it was before, he would have to open champagne to celebrate that he had another match to exchange what he had. However, after hearing about the tragic cases that Wei encountered this time, he knew very well that it was definitely not time to open champagne yet. Matching with a trading partner did not necessarily mean that the transaction could be successful. After all, this is a trading platform that connects all worlds, and there are all kinds of monsters and demons in it. Let alone these monsters and demons. Even if humans from different worlds can understand each other's words and understand what the other party is saying, they may not be able to communicate normally. Because the environment they are in is too different. The 3 views they have will be completely different. In many cases, this gap in concepts cannot be eliminated by mutual benefits in the transaction. In fact, the first world Suyi matched with was the magic world, and he was really lucky to meet Wei. Although Wei was born in the royal family, she was more or less influenced by the bloodline theory of the magic world, but this influence was not absolute. She had dialectical thinking and her own ideas and could put her ideas into action. She did not think that people from other worlds had to act according to the rules of their magic world. If Suyi was matched with an old stubborn person who was deeply rooted in the bloodline theory of the magic world as a member of the trading platform, it would probably not be so easy to communicate with him. Not to mention directly participating in the development of the magic world, it would probably be a problem whether he could complete the first transaction with him and reach a long-term trading partnership. After all, if the other party came up and said, "Where is this place? Where did you come from? You dare to look directly at me when you see me," Yi was afraid that he would not be able to hold it back. According to his understanding of the magic world, there are many nobles who can do such things when they just meet, and even many civilians have this kind of thinking. The lower level humans also despise and look down on the lower level orcs, dwarves, etc. People who have experience and have met many trading partners on the trading platform can naturally get rid of the influence of their own world atmosphere, but for those who are new to the trading platform, it is difficult to change their thinking in a short time. That's why I said that I met Wu Wei in the first match, which actually had a lot of luck. The second match, I still used the primary matching card, but I actually matched with Bailu, a big shot. Not to mention this luck. This is the case for humans, not to mention those non-human monsters maybe. Suyi can only be regarded as prey in the eyes of others, or simply a piece of meat that can walk. He wants to trade with others, but others may not want to trade with him. It's a very simple truth. Let's substitute it. If you enter the trading platform yourself, and you find a talking pig after entering, and the behavior and words of this pig are completely inconsistent with your 3 views, would you have the idea of trading with it? I'm afraid most people don't. This was the 3rd time, but Suyi didn't expect to have such explosive luck every time, so he was still quite nervous at this moment, fearing that he would see some messy monster after entering the exclusive trading space. However, no matter how hard he tried, the transmission time was only 1 or 2 seconds, almost in the blink of an eye. Suyi found himself in an extremely gorgeous palace. What made him happy was that he was quite familiar with the palace at first glance. Apart from anything else, the layout of the palace and the various cloud patterns carved and hollowed out on it were very similar to the ancient palaces in Kaishu. Not far away from him, there was a long-haired woman sitting. The woman was wearing a loose red long skirt, kneeling quietly in front of the table, carefully fiddling with a tea set in front of her. Her long hair like a waterfall fell to the ground, complementing the bright red long skirt, giving people a solemn and graceful feeling. She seemed to be indifferent to Suyi's appearance. After Suyi appeared, she just fiddled with the tea sets on her own. She didn't speak, and Suyi naturally didn't mean to speak, just staring at her quietly. However, this kind of eye attack seemed to be completely ineffective. The woman didn't know whether she was completely unaware that someone was staring at her, or she didn't care at all and didn't even raise her eyes. After a long time, she seemed to understand the function of the tea set. In Suyi's confused eyes, she casually summoned a ball of water, and the water bowl flowed into the pot along the spout. Then she pointed at the teapot again, and the water in the pot immediately boiled. Looking at the neatly piled tea leaves on the exquisite plate beside her, she hesitated for a moment, grabbed a handful, and threw it into the teapot. After a long time, she stretched out her little hand, which was more delicate than white jade, and directly lifted the bottom of the teapot and put it to her nose to smell it. Suyi's eyelids jumped. The water in the teapot was visibly boiling. It was so awesome to be able to lift it up directly with the bottom of the hand. My ruthless iron hand. Seeing this, how could he not understand that he must have matched with a metaphysical world again? While secretly sighing that cyber god worship was indeed useful, he also became very alert. The woman's dress was completely different from that of Weaver's world, but more like the ancient times of Kaishu. The temperament of her appearance was even more full of glamour. This woman didn't say anything, and it seemed that she was just making tea, but the movements of her hands and feet were much more oppressive than when she met Wu Wei and Bailu. The atmosphere remained silent, and neither of them had the intention to speak first. Until a certain moment, the woman seemed to feel that it was almost done, and she picked up the teapot and drank a sip from the spout. Then she frowned slightly. As if she didn't expect it to taste like this after a brief thought, she looked at Suyi and asked, "These things are the specialties of your world, right? Is the process I just used correct? Why is the thing so bitter? Is there something wrong with the process I used, or is it originally so bitter?" Chapter 299. Suyi, who was almost asleep, was no longer sleepy when he heard the other party speak first. After sorting out his thoughts, he said calmly, "This thing is chi. These things do exist in our world, but it is hard to say whether it is a specialty. After all, there are all kinds of things in this world. I'm afraid that nothing can become a specialty of a certain world on this trading platform, although the process that the fairy just prepared is not perfect. You can guess the function of these utensils at the first contact, which shows that the fairy has great wisdom. As for why this tea is bitter, I really can't explain it to the fairy. There is a saying in our world that all the flavors of life are in this cup of tea. Fairy might as well taste it carefully. Thanks to his experience as a purchaser in the factory early on, he has long practiced a set of real skills to tell people what they mean and what they mean. Now he talks nonsense without blinking. What tea making process and the like. How can he understand these things? Speaking of tea making, he is a native of Blue Star Jiazhou, and I'm afraid he doesn't understand it as well as Yuling. In other words, Yuling likes to think about these things on weekdays. He was influenced by them, so he knew that the process of making tea properly is very complicated. It is definitely not just boiling water and throwing tea leaves in to make it. So he said that the process is wrong. As for why the tea tastes bitter, why such a bitter thing has become a specialty of a world, and why it is placed here by the system as a representative item of Suyi's world. Only God knows. What Suyi said is just a repetitive talk that 3-year-old children in Jiazhou know. Don't ask. If you ask, this thing is a big knowledge, it's useless to ask me. As for what the big knowledge is, don't ask me, go and taste it yourself. If you can taste it, you are wise, and if you can't taste it, it's a pity, which means that this thing is not meant for you. If it were wee, Suyi would definitely not tell her these vague and repetitive talks. This woman can't be said to be big-breasted and brainless, but she definitely doesn't have the patience to do these fancy things. But the woman in front of him was dressed very similar to the ancient Kyushu, so Suyi wanted to try to communicate with her in the way of Kyushu. Maybe it would work. All the flavors of life are in this cup of tea. The woman looked at the teapot, then at Suyi. Then she picked up the teapot and took a sip from the spout, then continued to frown. Bitter, then a little sweet, meaning bitter first and sweet later. There is no fixed pattern. Everyone tastes different. Suyi shook his head slightly. Bullshit. The woman cursed with a smile and threw the teapot over, landing steadily on the table in front of Suyi without spilling a drop of water. Take a sip and see what it tastes like. Suyi was stunned for a moment, looking at the faint rouge mark on the spout, and subconsciously looked at the woman's red lips. I hope there is no infectious disease, he silently said in his heart, but on the surface he chuckled, as if he didn't care about it at all. Picked up the teapot and took a sip from the spout. What surprised him was that the expected bitterness of the tea did not appear. As soon as he took a sip, the rich tea fragrance filled his nose, and a very obvious sweetness directly stimulated his taste buds. It was so delicious that he couldn't help but drink 2 more sips. The tea was a little hot. After all, it was just boiled and had not cooled down at all. It was probably about 70 or 80 degrees, but fortunately, Suyi's current physical fitness is comparable to that of a 2nd or 3rd level warrior in the magic world, so this temperature can't do anything to him. He finished all the tea in the pot in one gulp, and then put down the teapot. Facing the woman's questioning eyes, he said lightly, "Good tea, sweet and fragrant, with endless aftertaste." The woman stared at Suyi with burning eyes, and she didn't know what she was thinking. After a long time, she smiled and said, "I'm a member of the Qingshuangji trading platform, and the leader of the Yanyu sect of the Qingshuangji, Lin Yiren. I wonder what your name is." Sure enough, Suyi was immediately shocked. I had previously speculated that this woman might be from a metaphysical world with an ancient background of Jiazhou. Now that I heard the name of this world and some sects, isn't this a world of immortal cultivation? I'm Rich, member of the trading platform Blue Star, chairman of Shianayu Group, Suyi. Yi immediately introduced himself. Don't worry about whether the other party can understand these messes. Just say it. I haven't considered whether he knows what Yanai sect is. Right. Wait. Thinking of this, Suyi suddenly realized that something seemed wrong. This Yanai sect, why does it sound so familiar? I seem to have seen it in a novel before. After hesitating for a while, he still asked, this sect Master Lin, do you have any other names for Yanai sect? Lin Yiren, who had been cold and calm from the beginning, and even a little moody, and who made it impossible to tell what he was thinking, was visibly startled when he heard the words. After a long while, she suddenly laughed like a villain, laughing voluptuously, laughing violently, almost crying. Suyi was flustered when she heard it. After she finished laughing, she asked Suyi curiously, why, even people from your other world know the name of our Hehuan sect now? It seems that I'm doing a good job as the sect master. I have also fulfilled the wish of my dead master and made the sect famous all over the world. No, is it really the Hehuan sect? Suyi touched his mouth subconsciously. He just drank water from the same pot with someone. Don't you dare infect him with syphilis or something. This good transaction suddenly became a personal hygiene issue. This was something he didn't expect. Originally, he asked this casually because there was a sect in the novel he had read before, which was called Yanai sect on the surface, but actually had another name called Hehuan sect. He didn't expect it to be true. This is too outrageous. If he didn't know that the trading platform can automatically filter some bacteria and viruses from different worlds, he would have interrupted the transaction and returned to Blue Star to get some blocking drugs, and this woman was quite normal just now, but suddenly became crazy. Suyi really couldn't handle it. Just these two sentences, and now he is still laughing so hard that he can't straighten his back. Is it so funny? Not to mention calling her master, who is suspected to be dead, a dead ghost, which is not normal, no matter how you look at it. Suyi wanted to run away. But a world that seems to be the ancient cultivation world of Jiaozhou is in front of him, and the temptation is too great. He wants to run away, but is reluctant to do so. Finally, after waiting for a long time, seeing that Lin Yiren finally laughed enough, Suyi said with a stiff upper lip, well, I wonder if Fairy Lin needs anything? This is a trading space, or let's talk about business. Chapter 300. It is better to stop talking about such messy topics, otherwise, after a lot of effort, you will find a trading partner who looks like a human being, but the deal will fall through before you even start talking about business. Talk about business? Of course, I want a lot of things. I wonder what you want, Lin. Yiren also stopped laughing, but her upright sitting posture became lazy. She leaned on the table with one hand to support her cheek, and did not continue to kneel. She stretched out her whole body and became a reclining posture. The bright red long skirt slipped off, allowing a pair of slender and straight long legs to stick out from the long skirt all the way up until the key parts were hidden under the red veil, making people unable to help but look at them a few more times. After Suyi casually asked about her true background, this woman's face changed at the speed of light. The ethereal temperament just now faded away in an instant, and she became the seductive and charming look now. Even her voice was different from before, and her tone was so sweet that people would get diabetes after listening to it. Suyi opened the seal and revealed the true form of the demon girl with just one sentence. I want a lot of things. It would be best if you could give me some cultivation methods from your world, which I would trade every time I encounter a different world. Suyi looked at Yuling's face and thought about her beauty. He was not moved at all and said lightly, after all, the meaning of the existence of a trading platform is to exchange what we have. What else can be more suitable than exchanging cultivation methods of different systems? That's right. Lin Yi nodded slightly and was not vague. He threw a jade slip over. We cover the moon. The sect's skills can only be practiced by women, so it will be useless to you. This is a skill that my dead master accidentally obtained when he was alive. It is a secret of the ancient King Yang sect, called Golden Crow Book. Its skills are extremely strong and masculine, and it is a top skill that directly points to the return to Void Realm. But this skill has extremely high requirements for people, and ordinary people can't practice it at all, so it has never been passed on. I just took a few glances and you are quite suitable for practicing this method, so why not give it a try? Since we are trading partners, I'm not afraid of you knowing. This skill is related to our Yanayu. The moon covering art of the Hehuan sect is originally mutually reinforcing and mutually restraining, but the moon covering art is missing, and it is not. In other words, people who practice this technique are extremely suitable for our disciples of the moon covering sect to practice together, but because of the missing moon covering art, it has become the most restraining technique for our disciples of the moon covering sect. If it were placed in the Qingshan realm, even if the Hehuan sect was destroyed, I would not be able to take this technique out, and I would not even let anyone know. But since this is a trading space, our two worlds should not have any intersection in the future except for trading. So what should I do? It doesn't matter if you do it after all, even if you really succeed, you can't do anything to me in this trading space. Of course, if there really is such a day, I'm looking forward to learning and exploring with you in this trading space and practicing together. This is the most advanced technique in the Qingshan realm that I can get. If you like it, you can also exchange it for your best technique. When she talked about the second half, the woman's voice became softer and softer, and her eyes were as charming as silk when she talked and laughed, which showed her true nature as a demon point. If Suyi hadn't eaten well recently, I'm afraid he would have been fooled. Point looking at the best technique in the other world, Suyi naturally had no reason to refuse. However, after thinking about it, he said, "Can you give me a copy of your Yanayu sect's technique? In exchange, I can trade you the top 3 techniques I have." Haha, you are so greedy, young man. But since we are not in the same world, why not give it to you? But let me say this in advance. Both techniques have some side effects. You can see the content by sticking them on your forehead. The side effects will also be recorded in detail. It is up to you whether to practice them or not. Lin Yiren was very happy and threw another jade slip directly. Suyi looked at the 2 jade slips in his hand and swallowed his saliva secretly. It is not difficult to hear from what Lin Yiren said just now about the return to Void Realm that, although this sect does not sound very serious, that world is a serious world of cultivating immortals, and the technique in his hand is a real and serious technique of cultivating immortals. This is probably much more awesome than magic and martial arts. The most important thing is that this is pure free stuff. He doesn't need to pay anything. It's really a great deal. The top 3 skills on hand. There is a skill from the market on Blue Star. He can just take out the messy martial arts and magic skills he got from the magic world. Since Sect Master Lin is so generous, I will naturally not hide anything. As he said, Suyi took out the 3 best magic world skills on hand, 2 about magic and 1 about martial arts, and put them on the transaction panel to submit. However, just when he clicked to confirm the transaction, a few lines of big words suddenly popped up on the system panel in front of him. "Dear member, the items you submitted do not meet the contract conditions reached with the trading partner. Please replace the following 3 items and submit again. Tao Te-Ching, Nan He-Ching, Yi-Jing." No, wait a minute, this thing is considered a skill. Suyi also has a little understanding of these 3 books. Tao Te-Ching, Nan He-Jing and Yi-Jing were collectively called the 3 mysteries. In ancient times it is said that the ancient key refining masters in Jiuzhou regarded them as the golden rule. He thought it was feudal superstition. He never expected that the system would determine that this seemed to be a more powerful technique than those high-end martial arts magic methods from the magic world. Is this true or false? Submit. Failure to submit within the time limit will result in transaction failure. It is detected that this transaction is a cross-border transaction of knowledge. If the knowledge carrier transmitted by the other party has not been received, the carrier will be returned by the original route. If you have used the carrier and obtained the content in it, the trading platform will use high-dimensional technology to erase the relevant memory from your memory and end this match. As a punishment, you will lose the opportunity to match again in the next 3 years. Countdown 1 minute, 60, 59, 58. Seeing that Suyi seemed to be confused for a long time, the trading platform system also kindly reminded him. Seeing the penalty for the failed transaction, he was immediately shocked and said, "Just these 3 books, submit them directly." Just Now, he thought he was complacent, that he had exchanged the magic world skills, that he didn't want to practice for the real way of cultivating immortals unexpectedly. Such an unexpected situation occurred. For some reason, he always felt that this wave was a big loss. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.